our afternoon agenda is Wendling Realty, and they have rescheduled, so they are our 1 o'clock slot today. And I see that there's a representative here, and so Carla, if you want to go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, our next appeal is parcel number 280.26.12.00011C, owned by Wendling Realty LLC. It is an office building located on South Minnesota Avenue, 4900 in Sioux Falls, built in 1999. 16,674 square feet. The assessment went out at $2,465,728. This was heard at local board. Local board made no change to the assessed value. We do show some comparable properties of office-type buildings that we felt are comparable, for the most part, to the subject property. You can see a wide range between 2022 and 2024 sales. Overall, the assessment per square foot on the office is $148 per square foot, including the land. The cost from the comparable shows a range between $178 and $239 a square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $157 and $216 a square foot, so the subject property is below both of those cost and market standards. We did have an income from the property owner. That income approach to value came in at $1,690,098. You can see on the map where the subject property is located in comparison to the comparables. Overall, on our office structures in Sioux Falls, our median level of assessment is roughly between 83 and 88%. So we are holding our values very, very much into consideration of what their market prices are at. Overall statistics, I do want to take the time to let commission know that during the hearing in Sioux Falls, there was some mention on deferred maintenance when the purchase of the property took place. It was purchased in 2021 for $1.7 million. There was deferred maintenance from building permits that we have on record. That deferred maintenance has now been corrected. We relied on the cost approach to value in determining the value for the 2025 assessment year. The cap rates were, they had some outliers in their expenses. The overall operation expense ratio was high in comparison to other type properties. Also, I would like to just bring to your attention some of the information they brought to local board. We did have time to review, we meaning Lethan, had time to review their information and how they determined what the valuation should be. And I wanted to let the board know these calculations are inaccurate because they have the wrong sizes on these comparisons that they're using as comparables. So we wanted to show you that, and if they were correct, we would be closer definitely to the current assessed value. So wanted to bring that in case that was something that the appellants brought to you, that the calculations, I believe, are incorrect because the square footages were incorrect. So the assessor recommendation is to leave the assessed value on the land at $330,750 and the structure value is at $2,134,978 for a total assessed value of $2,465,728. With that, I will stand by for any comments or questions or.
Anybody have questions for Carla? If not, we'll take testimony from the applicant. Or appellant, I should say.
Thank you.
Good
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks to the commissioners and all the county staff for hearing us today. We appreciate it, the opportunity. So I'm Kelly Castile. I'm on behalf of Wendling Realty. So we are appealing the assessed value for the property taxes at 4900 South Minnesota. As she mentioned before, we did protest the valuation at the local board and were unsuccessful. Our initial appeal was based on cap rate and NOI. So this time we've also included per square foot comparables as well. Did everybody get a chance to get a copy of that along with the application? Yep, no?
It'll be in their shared.
Give me that pack, okay. It would look like this.
Okay, all right, got it.
Okay,
You could find them there on that sheet.
perfect, thank you.
You're missing the column.
So, you know, we know in some of these situations, it's difficult for us to determine without having the building plans, the exact per square foot of the building, but we tried to use the, you know, the maps, the land size as noted. So, and in terms of the NOI, we provided our income statement, as said before, in our rent roll. The NOI was 119,326, and at a cap rate of 8%, that equates to a building value of $1.4 million, just over that, which is less than the property was purchased for in 2021. And the leases in all this building are gross leases, so the tenants,
Can you put that on the screen?
the numbers,
Maybe you gotta read it.
Yeah, sure. The
What
financials?
you're talking about, that way a guy can kind of see.
Yep, you bet. Let's see, and the screen is here.
Right offside, maybe.
Yep,
we can
there's
show
a-
you.
Yep, just set it down.
Oh, where it says place document below?
There you go, right there.
Okay. Sorry. All right. Maybe need to put that there. Is that the number there, see? The 119 number. You know, so, which as mentioned, the property was purchased for about 1.7 million back in 2021. You know, these leases are all gross leases too, so all the utilities are included in that, so the tenants don't pay the utilities, the building incurs that expense as well. And the rents are obviously fixed on almost all tenants are on multi-term leases. So, you know, anytime the expenses in the building goes up, we don't have a chance to add that to our income statement because the rents are already fixed. You know, especially with taxes, insurance, 2024 taxes were 21% of the property budget. Insurance was 9%. And obviously those expenses are expected to be higher in 2025, which we've seen. And then also further eroding the value of the property. And those are expenses we can't control as property managers or owners. Any questions on those numbers?
Does anybody have any questions? All right,
Perfect. And then at the proposed assessed value of $2,465,728, that would be a value of $192 per square foot, which would far exceed the square foot price attainable in today's market. There were not a lot of general office sales in 23 or 24. But the subject property would be very comparable to the property at 622 South Minnesota Avenue, which sold for $97.21 per square foot. And then there was also a sale in October 24, 3401 North Louise Avenue, which is much larger, had a generator, larger parking lot, full tech package, and a loading dock, and had almost, double the parking lot size. And that was at 102.45 per square foot. So we believe both these examples show the valuation to be too high. And as a recap, we believe the value of the property should be $1,790,506 with a land value of $337,50, a building value of $1,459,756. And let me know if you have any questions.
does anybody have questions for the appellant? All right, if not, is there a motion?
I move to accept the assessor recommendation.
Got a motion to accept the assessor's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? If not, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No.
Landine.
I'm gonna vote yes. Sorry, was running some numbers in my head. So it'll stay where it's at. But thank you for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We pass these on to the commission.
All right, Carla, we're on item 2 on our agenda, was scheduled for 1:10 this afternoon. Heartland
Thank you.
Tower. Is anyone here from Heartland Tower?
No, they will not be present. Deputy Pyske is handing out some documents that we received recently from Heartland Tower that
Thank you.
they would like to share with you.
Thank you.
Yes, one for the record. Our next appeal is parcel number 096.49.03.2020, owned by Heartland Tower. It is located at 29120 South Dakota Highway 11 in Hudson, South Dakota. It sits on approximately 1.04 acres. It is a low-design, self-supported cell tower. It also has a utility building on it that is approximately 1,486 square feet. Currently, the tower itself holds no value to the property, so has zero value. The value that we are currently placing on the property is for the 1.04 acres and the utility value, building, which is 24,434. Our total assessed value for 2025 is 85,679. This was an appeal that went to Office of Hearing Examiners in 2024, which upheld the county board's decision. Since then, the value has slightly increased from the 24 assessment year because we did change land value by 5% in our townships of 97 and 96 and 97. So that's the valuation change between 24 and 25. We show some comparables of other tower properties and how we have them currently assessed. That's on page 2 of 9. Some of those properties sit on a agricultural piece. There is one that's located in Lenox that sits on 2 acres. We have that land value at 71,816. From the, if you want to take some time to read the appellant docs, his concern is the land value itself. He does also provide a lease agreement on the property for $1. We are considering the cost approach as the most reliable approach to value for the 25 assessment year. Currently, the building itself, we have priced at $16 a square foot. The tower has no value, but we will tell you that there are towers that have value, and we have them priced per linear foot between $699 and $1,116 per linear foot. Currently, the assessment on the land is $35,908. That's for the comparable properties. The subject property is located at the southern portion of Lincoln County. Comps 1 and 2 are in very similar areas as the subject property. Comp 3 again is in Lenox. We do show some equity comps. The biggest concern from the appellant is the land and how we have it assessed. We are showing some comparable properties. One of them is in 9750, so it's in that southern portion of Lincoln County. And that was 3.99 acres, sold for 168,000. And that's residential. This one is currently classed as commercial. So right now, the subject property's land is assessed at 58,889 per acre. Currently, our price per acre it's based on, we're basing it on a price per square foot, but because our comparables, we're using a price per acre, we're showing our comparable as a price per acre as well. And it's, it's on the top end of our comparables, looking at the assessed value, but it's right in the middle of the market.
Carla, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
So, you talk about the marketplace, fair market value. I mean, realistically, if we're looking at this from a fair market value perspective, who's going to buy this 1 acre parcel of land in the middle of nowhere with these buildings on it? I mean, isn't this kind of ripe for an adjustment by the board?
That's a consideration. Right now, we value it as it sits right now and not, and some of our, we're showing you 3 bare lot sales. We could show you some properties that have structures on it that is probably worth more if you remove the structures. But, mass appraisal, we start with a valuation schedule and a model, and, we're trying to, doing something to treat each property fairly and stay within the realms of the market valuation. Yes, there would have to be, to tear that tower down, there's probably zoning things that need to take place. So I understand your question. I don't know if I can answer it, but
We have considered the fact that there's really no income value or value to the tower, even though there's a cost value to that. We took the OHE decision into consideration and we did make a change for that. What you're saying is kind of going into hypothetical conditions or extraordinary assumptions, and that's a bit more of a difficult task for a mass appraiser to do.
Yeah, no, that's a fair answer. I appreciate it.
I have a question too when you're done.
go ahead.
That building, 1,400 square foot, has that been used for a long time or just sit there empty or?
I believe there was a 5,000 square foot building.
Oh, I thought it said 1,400. Well, the 5,000 square foot building, is anybody utilizing it for anything right now? Or has been?
Commissioner, this property has been in front of us many times over the years.
Well, my contention being is that a 5,000 square foot building.
You were correct, 1486 is
There you
the
go.
exact amount, yep.
But
They're
which
both
makes it a
being
little
used.
less valuable as far as somebody renting it, using it.
It is leased for $1, Maybe it deserves to be a benevolent charitable organization, but they haven't applied for that. I don't know.
Right.
Doesn't seem like an extremely high income producing property to me either.
Well, it wouldn't be down there, but, I guess per se, the, 1,400 square foot, somebody, depending on what the building's like inside, would rent it for storage, anything. So what my contention is there is, why is, that not been considered, or who owns it, or?
It is being considered. From my understanding, some of the equipment for the tower may be held in that. We have
I'm
not
sure it
done an
is,
interior
yeah.
inspection. I do believe the appellant, visited the site in 2024. There's been no indication of, any deterioration on the structure. That's not been the basis of the appeal. It's been more of the land value itself.
It's used for ham radio. If you're familiar with what ham
No.
radio is, it's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
am.
of amateur radio.
And they haven't used it
Hobbyists.
for a long time?
I believe they've been renting this probably since this gentleman's owned it since like 2001 or 3, somewhere in that
Okay.
neck of the woods.
So then they probably, because ham radio's still a big deal.
Yeah, it's
So-
kind of like that farming situation where, you know, you'll, I suppose, plant the alfalfa, and then from there on, you hire somebody who takes care of that property for you and collects the hay. Well, in this situation, they spray the weeds around there and maintain the property for him, and in return, for $1, they get to use the property for their hobby.
Let's see, the ham radio deal would be a good deal, hell.
Well, that is what this
Everybody'd
is.
love to have a tower that tall for ham radio.
That's what they use it for. Excuse me, that's what they're using it for.
Yes. That is the current use.
So, I mean, so it is kind of being used, and so I guess I'll quit for a while.
But this isn't a nonprofit owner, nothing like, I mean,
I mean, I've had that discussion with him. He hasn't indicated that.
Well, can I speak
it'd be worth
again?
spending the $150.
Yeah.
That size of building and being able to use the tower for a minuscule of a ham radio is, that looks to me like good taxable value of 86 or 85,000, you know, because of the fact that it can be used. And do you know what ham radio is actually?
I mean, personally, somewhat, yes. I know it's a
Okay,
type
if
of
I want to
radio.
talk to somebody in Brazil, I can talk to them.
I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to set the value at $88,000.
What's it assessed at?
85.
Well, they're not appealing their letter says they're only
talking about the
protesting
land
the land
only.
value.
Yeah,
So the motion would need to be the structures go with the assessor's recommendation and then whatever you want the land value to be.
Hold on, I better rethink my,
Sorry.
I was just trying to get us out of the
Thank you.
conversation into some action mode
I-
here.
there you go.
I appreciate it.
Let me,
What was the land value there?
I don't know.
61,245, isn't it?
I have the
20.
wrong file pulled up. Give me 1 second here, sorry.
Oh, it don't say actual land value, though.
The building
Okay,
is
commercial land,
24,434
61,000. There you go.
and then the land value, unless I've got that turned
I see it
around.
here, 61,
245.
245.
What's wrong with the assessor value?
Well, really, nothing if they can utilize it. That's it. I mean.
Can I make a motion to accept the assessor's
Yeah.
recommendation?
Second.
Got a motion to accept the assessor's recommendation. Let me call the roll, Alicia.
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes,
Landine.
No.
Okay, I'll make another motion.
No,
Make-
that went through.
That passed.
3-2.
Oh, did it? Oh, I'm
Did it?
sorry.
I
thought-
was thinking it didn't, but
What,
You were
3
thinking
to
of what?
2.
what was it?
It went 3 to 2.
3-2, yeah.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh, you
I could have
failed.
said no if you wanted me to.
We were the odd men out. Okay. It passed. Next one we got CMI Terex Corporation.
So there was just an email sent to the assessor's office within the last hour from this appellant. I'm just going to pull it up here. He was requesting that we set a later time. Said, "Good afternoon. I apologize. This communication was lost in my inbox, so I didn't get back to you. Is there an option to select a later meeting day time?" So do with that as you will. That was sent today at 12:39 p.m.
Did he give a reason? Other than lost in the inbox?
That was the reason.
At his option, he could show up today and we'd fit him in where possible if we get a break.
So
No promises.
move it to the end and let him know that we'll be doing
Not
that.
even gonna move it to the end. If there's a break and we can fit him in, we'll fit him in.
Okay.
If he's here, great, and if he's not, then we're not gonna be able to accommodate him.
I agree with that.
But you are saying it's today.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
County.org.
So we'll skip over that one for now, which is number 3 on our agenda. And then we'll move to Interstate Crossing Development Core scheduled for 1:30. And I don't see an RSVP on that one. Is there somebody here for that? Okay, great. Are you okay if we go ahead and start 3 minutes early? Sure. All right, thank you. Carla, go ahead.
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.55.02.002. It's owned by Interstate Crossing Development Corporation. It is located in Sioux Falls. It's a bare piece of commercial property, what is known as the Solberg, or the Interstate Crossing Development, or excuse me, Solberg Addition. Our assessment is set up for the Solberg Business Park. The first acre is assessed at $14 per square foot. Anywhere between 1.01 acres and 2 acres is set up at $7 per square foot. Anything over $2 or 2 acres is $4 per square foot. So that is our valuation table for this commercial properties. Our assessment went out at $956,912. This was appealed to the local board of equalization, the city board of Sioux Falls. City board lowered it to $820,327. Appellant appealed it, the local board decision to be heard at county board. The assessors are recommending no change. We do feel that the parcels in this development are all valued equally according to this land table. We did a complete county-wide land review for the 24 assessment year. So we took a look at some sales in the, it's a smaller development. We had a small pool of sales to look at in determining our valuation schedule. But when we applied our factors to the properties that had sold, we were within 92% of market of those sales. So we felt that the valuation schedule was acceptable. Now, one of the sales in the 4 sales that we're showing you, or the 5 sales that we're showing you, is in the Solberg Business Park. The other ones are just random sales of bare lot. Wanted to show you that we do have a market for bare commercial lot sales in and around the Sioux Falls area. It's currently assessed at $9.80 a square foot. Again, keep in mind that first acre is $14. That second, the little over an acre to 2 acres is at $7 per square foot, and so on. So when you compile it all together as a whole, overall, the assessment on this property is $9.80 a square foot. Our cost of the comparables that we're using, we're showing you a wide range between $5.37 a square foot all the way up to $12.77 a square foot. Our market is indicating a market range between $9.50 a square foot up to $16.14 a square foot. You can see from where the subject property is located in the northwest corner of the map. Comp 1 is the closest in proximity. The other comparables are just, again, showing you there are land sales of commercial properties that are selling in the Sioux Falls area. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
This may be a question for Dennis, but I'll ask you too. If I go and look on NAI's website, am I going to find out that it's being market? What's it going to say it's for sale at per square foot?
I have it listed at $9.50.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm
Sorry, what was that?
Good afternoon, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Dennis Bresky. I am not the owner of this property. I've represented the family that owns this property for 25 years now. The Interstate Crossings Business Park is a 100-acre park. We made the first sale to DTG, which is now Blue Peak, in 1999. I have these 2 parcels left, and this all started when my client got his assessment and sent it to me and said, do you think this is a little high? And I looked at it and I thought it was a little high. So started the process. I've really never done appeals before. So I went to the Sioux Falls meeting and learned a little bit more about the process. And so yes, Joel, I do have it listed at $950 or $975, but list price has not that much to do sometimes with actual market value. The sales have been slow in this business park here I've had those 2 lots left for at least 3 years. There was a lot sold on Solberg recently, just a couple weeks ago, that sold for $850. There was another parcel that sold down on 59th Street for $7.50 a square foot. So I believe the sale that happened on Solberg is a little different because Solberg is a much higher traffic street than 58th Street and 59th Street. There's not near the amount of traffic on those. There's really only one retail type business in Interstate Crossings at the present time, and that's Sky Zone. And this Lux Salons, it's a hair salon, is going in right next to that. I guess the daycare could be considered a retail type business that's next to the vacant lot that was just purchased. So I think there's a difference there. But one of the main things I learned at the city deal, and I think that I learned this morning from one of my commercial appraiser friends, that this methodology that's being used of $14 a square foot for the first acre, $7 a square foot for the next acre, and then a different value for the acreage above that. No buyer looks at land that way. No commercial broker in Sioux Falls would value land that way. I don't think most of the commercial appraisers are going to value things that way. But what my appraiser friend told me is that that's what the Department of Revenue at the state level teaches the county appraisers. That's how you're taught to do these assessments. And so I'm here as a person that sold commercial real estate for 32 years now in Sioux Falls to say, I just have a really hard time with that methodology because the other thing is that your zoning classifications, when you go in to look at them, you kind of have a choice of commercial land. Well, this land is not even zoned commercial, it's zoned office and industrial. And a lot of the comps that you're using are commercial land sales, which when I say commercial, I kind of mean retail for higher traffic streets, higher value property. Office land is a different cat, a different animal. Industrial land is, different from that yet. And so the southern part of Interstate Crossings is zoned industrial. Some of the northern part is zoned office. And so, to me, there should be more classifications there when you look at the property types for the assessor to not lump. To me, we're getting lumped in with parcels that are on 57th Street or Cliff Avenue or Western Avenue, and that's not really a fair comparison, in my opinion. So, I appreciate the progress that we made at City Hall. I think the market value for these properties is $7.50 a square foot, where they are. My clients are not very motivated, so that's why they pushed the price up, because some other sellers had pushed their price up there. Nobody's selling their land at that price, but they all got it kind of pushed up there. I wish it would sell at that, but I'm getting no action. So I had a few notes here. I want to just find that page.
You were here last year on this too, Dennis, weren't you?
No, I've never
Okay.
appealed before I did a long, long time ago on Minnehaha County, but I have not been in front of you on this. We've just kind of let it ride. To me, it kind of got to a point where it's definitely above market, even at the, reduced rates are better, that we got the progress that we made with the city. We got the larger parcel on 59th Street is down to $840 a square foot. And the one at 58th Street, which is right next to Journey Construction, even after the reduction, we're at $9.30 per square foot, which is, 80 cents higher than the piece that just sold over on Solberg. And again, I would argue that Solberg land is more valuable than 58th Street land. That's that's the way a buyer's gonna look at it. So, yeah, I think I've covered everything that I had in my mind regarding those two parcels, and then I got one. So there's two of them here, they're kind of tied together. And the other, I know the other point. So as I was doing this, I ran into Jerry Zoots, who owns a lot right behind where this last lot sold. And he was over like $11, $12 a square foot. I don't know if he appealed to the city. I don't know if he's coming here or not. Right across the street from Jerry's lot is a small lot that's in front of a company called Software Alternatives. They're at $14 because they're under an acre, okay? So you got one lot here, 14, right across the street, you're at 11. Same business park, same kind of land. That's just not right, in my mind, from my opinion. The way, I don't think buyers would view it that way. I don't think brokers would do an opinion of value and value it that way. So that's where this system that you're using of 14 for the first acre and then a different value for the next acre, it really causes some incongruity from parcel to parcel. Like even these lots that I'm representing, they're a block apart. And I got it, $1 and some per square foot difference. Yeah, about $1 per square foot. So to me, this doesn't add up. So that's all the points that I had on that those two lots, my comments. I really struggle with the methodology. And I think there's a difference between office and commercial, retail land and industrial land. Got to have more classifications. And then that whole process of smaller lots worth more. Yeah, it depends on where it's located.
Commissioner Putnam, you have a question?
Yeah, how many acres is this parcel? Besides
Well,
square
I've got
foot?
two parcels. One is 66,175. That's the one on 58th Street, just immediately east of Journey Construction. The other parcel is 97,635 square feet.
Well, just talking about this one we have up here right now.
2.24 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
That's what I was
59th
kinda
Street lot.
wondering.
Yep. So that land is all worth one price per square foot. Some people need a big lot, some people need a 1 acre lot, some people need 2 acres. All the land I've ever sold in there, which I've been working on them, like I said, I've sold 100 acres minus these 3.5 or 4 acres that I got left. I've been involved in every single one of those sales. Most of them in the $4 to $6 per square
Are
foot.
you familiar what Casey's paid for the lot there by T?
I sure
Just
am.
off the interstate?
About $20 a square foot.
Did they get that much? I just heard it was a lot less.
If you're talking about the Casey's near 57th and Louise,
No, off the T.
Are there any more questions from the board?
I don't know that one.
If there are no other questions from the board, I'm going to close testimony and looking for a motion.
Dennis, I agree with you that list price isn't necessarily fair market value. And y'all have had this property on the market for 3 years now trying to sell it. But I struggle with this one because y'all have also attempted to put a price on it, right?
My clients have, yes.
Right, right. And so I agree with you about the methodology issue, and none of us are legislators up in here, and we can't change that part. So that's why I kind of struggle with this one here. So I'm going to make a motion to value this thing, taking into consideration that the comps are, what you said they are. But I'll make a motion to value it at $9 an acre. Square foot, excuse me.
Square foot, yeah.
The one is already lower than that.
I'm only talking about this first one.
We're
Okay.
in the process
talking
of
about the
making
first one.
motions, so sir, I'm sorry, you don't have the floor right now. Go ahead, Commissioner Aaron's.
Yeah, it's the parcel ending in .002. Our assessor's got it at $9.80 a square foot. I'm putting a value on it of $9.
I'll second that.
What does that come out to then?
$878,922.
878 what?
$878,922.
Yeah, and that, you know, the local board on this one kind of rolled it back, right? But.
Yeah, I'm going backwards here
But I'm
today. I
not-
shouldn't have showed up.
Yeah, but I'm not going, well, I'm not going as far back as the local board, but I'm taking that into
All right,
consideration.
is there a second? Okay, I do have a second. All right, if there's no further discussion, will you call the roll, Alicia?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
No.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. All right, is there anything additional that you want us to know for the next item, the 280.58.03.006? I'll give you an opportunity, I'm assuming it's somewhat the same, is it not, Carla?
It is this, in the same development, just a few,
It's right next door,
I don't believe it's right next door.
okay?
It's
Sir,
about a block.
she would have the floor right now.
Pardon?
You have the floor right now, if you want to go ahead with your presentation.
It's a couple blocks away from this current.
We need a bigger podium, so there's not so much moving around.
We've actually talked about that.
The one
So-
just east of Journey there that he had mentioned earlier. Journey Construction, right?
Yeah.
It's parcel number 280.58.03.006, owned by Interstate Crossing Development, 4400 West 58th Street. It's approximately 1.59 acres. We have the same valuation schedule as the appeal before. Assessment went out at $768,145, went to local board made no change. The appellant is appealing back the local board's decision and to be heard at county.
The local board didn't change.
No.
Anything else that you have for us, Carla?
The comps and all the pricing schedules are identical to the previous appeal. It's currently at an estimated $11.61 a square foot when you, as a whole.
All right, thank you.
Just to clarify, this is a new plat, or a 2024 new plat, right? Their local board didn't change anything on this one, did they? Was that just a misstatement of yours, Carla?
No, this is
Or
a
am
new
I-
plat for 24, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
That is correct. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions for Carla? All right, if not, the appellant can come on up. Go ahead and present your testimony.
Yeah, I mean, I have noticed that, that Sioux Falls Township did reduce the assessed value from 1161 to 930 per square foot. So since I lost ground on the first one, maybe if I can go at 9 on this one, would about equal out.
Let me
This is a
verify
smaller
that.
parcel.
That could be a typo on my part.
Yeah, let's-
I think I have the letter in here, but I have to do a little digging. But again, at 1161, that's quite high, it's being penalized because of that $14 a square foot for the first acre. This is a smaller lot, and so more of it got valued at $14. Again, it's literally a block away from the other parcel we just talked about. So,
Local board did lower it to $615,427.
yep,
Thank you.
yeah, so that's not in our packet up here that we're
No.
looking at. Is this parcel
I was gonna
ending
say, I
in
don't see
dot
that.
006?
Yes.
Okay, it must have been
Mistake
typo.
on our part.
yeah, just the wrong color, yeah.
And the forward to what?
$615,427.
Carla, did they have a rationale on how they determined that?
Do you remember what their rationale was?
I mean, all three of us were there, right?
Yeah, I
So,
don't-
I
four
happened
of
to
us,
talk to the
us.
mayor
We were all
after that.
there. Yeah, they use 930 a square foot. It says that in the minutes, actually.
My
Anybody
recall,
have any other questions for our appellant? Is there anything else you'd like us to know, sir?
no, not on that one.
All right. Looking for a motion.
I'll just make the same motion about, I want to maintain some uniformity given the adjacency of these properties, so I'll make a motion to value at $9 a square foot.
Is there-
$595,575.
What was that?
Go ahead with that number again, Carla.
$595,575.
Right? Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Still,
I'd make a motion to accept what the local board lowered it to, the 615,427.
Second.
I'm looking at this card and it looks completely different from what everybody else is saying.
Our recommendation showing the local board value section of that, we're right there in the middle, it shows 678, 145 is wrong. The minutes were not,
This says 768.
768.
yeah, and it shouldn't be. The local board did make the change and we did not update that to our presentation. The local board did change it to 615, 427.
And that was our motion and second.
And that's the motion and second. All right. Thanks for the clarification. I didn't catch that.
That's whacking it.
Got a motion and a second. Will you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
No?
Putnam,
Yep.
Landine.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item 6 on our agenda, scheduled for 150, SFC Holdings.
600, 615 from 768.
And I don't have an RSVP on that one.
That's me too.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead, Carla.
153.
Yes, our next appeal is parcel number 280. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. 280.58.02.01A2, owned by SFC Holdings Number 2 LLC, located at 5300 South Broadband Lane in Sioux Falls. It is a office building built in 2007. It has 40,824 square feet. There is some lower level as well, 17,233 square feet. The assessment went out at 9,854,330. There was a recommendation to the local board from the assessors to lower it down to 9,256,299. I did find a comparable when looking at this property. I noted the parcel number that I compared it to, and that's what I used to make the determination for the recommendation. Let me see if I can get this up here. I do not see that on here. Bring it up on DocCam. So that's just what I read to you. Forget my chicken scratches here. These were the comparables that we used to compare for our sales comparison. We had a property that sold for $2.2 million, quite a bit smaller, about a quarter of the size. We did have one that is fairly close to the subject property, although there's no lower level, sold for $5,750,000. Also show a couple comparables that these are from Minnehaha County. Again, just showing you some sales that took place on a commercial office structure. Overall, we have it assessed as a whole at $226 a square foot. Our cost comparables range between $171 and $227, so it is at the top range of the comparables. Our market, which includes the Minnehaha comparables, are between $100 $184 and $226 per square foot. If we break it down by just the structure, we're still at the top end of both the spectrums. That's one of the reasons why I did make the recommendation. This is a unique property. They share the parking lot, they share the vestibule. The adjoining piece, that's the other wing to this property, is tax exempt. It is unique. It was so hard to find some comparables. Again, when we look at how our pricing schedule is with our market and showing our statistics, we're between 83 and 88% of market overall on our office structures. With that, I will say that our assessor's recommendation still is as follow, leaving the land value at $1,510,408, structure value at $7,745,891, for a total valuation of $9,256,299. With that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Carla? All right, Pelican, come on up.
Okay. Don't have a lot to say on this one. I guess I'd like to ask a question. How do you view the income approach to value in your process here? Can I ask that question?
It's not a time for questions for us. It's
what?
a time for you to present your
Well,
testimony.
Part of my, I don't know how this is working, but it's pretty cool. Here's just a little spreadsheet that I put together. So, again, as a commercial real estate agent, the most accurate indicator of value, if there's a lease in place, a tenant in place, is always the income approach to value, because that building is locked in. Its value is locked in by the rent that it's producing. And this particular building, the current net operating income is NOI there, is $617,000. I used a cap rate of 8%. So the value based on the income approach to value is $7,712,000, $132 a square foot. It is a 58,000 square foot building if you count all three levels. So the assessor has that a little different, where they have 40,000 square feet. That's the above ground area. This building is a walkout lower level, so I view it as a three-story building, but a good chunk of the lower level is mechanical rooms and basement type of space. And so what I pulled up here are comparable sales that I found. You can see the price per square foot there. This retailer's National Bank is a former Target credit card operation just south of the mall. That is actually under contract. You can see the sale date hasn't even hit us yet, but I got a hold of the purchase agreement. And so it's under contract at $98 a foot, 1,500. These other ones are actual sales that have closed that are, over 20,000 square foot buildings. Then I have a whole bunch of comparable listings down there that are, okay, so this building was a call center. It was, Sanford Health was in there for many years. They had their data center in there in the lower level. And then it was Cube City on second floor and third floor. They moved out. Avera Health Plans has leased the building. So it's a call center type of building. Sioux Falls area has close to 1 million square feet of call center space sitting empty. I dread the day if I lose Avera, because there's very little demand. These Wells Fargo buildings, the Citibank buildings have been sitting empty for quite a long time. So these are ones that are on the market, and you can see the prices per square foot that they have there. Now, granted, some of these are further to the north, they're inferior in that way. South is better. But they're also all on one level buildings, which is better for the users. They like everything on one level if call center were in demand. So that's, I have the assessed value there at the bottom left. That's what it was assessed for. The city did reduce it to 9.2. I think could be reduced more, based on the income approach to value and the comparable sales that we've come up with. I guess that's about all I have to offer on this particular one. I think $169 a square foot, that's based on the 58,000 square feet, is a pretty, I think it'd be very hard to yield that if I were to put the building on the market, especially with the lease that's in place. So that's all I have to say on that one. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for the appellant? If not, is there a motion?
Carla, Ethan, got a question for you. So what Dennis put in his appeal here is, he says, using the income approach to value with an 8% cap rate, property is worth at best 7.718 million. Did you all do a calculation on the income approach? And if so, what is it?
I did a lot of them. I don't recall doing one for this property, so I'm not sure that I was delivered an income statement or any copies of any of those leases.
I did
Any
attach
mortgage
that
notes.
When I filed the appeal.
Said, please see attached lease agreement.
Yeah, I put that into the package.
The financials were reviewed, but some of the income information was up to 5 to 6 years old because the lease is for a long-term lease. So felt like the most current lease would have deemed the most credible if considering the income approach. But since the income information was from 2019, we felt that that wasn't the most current.
Well, the lease I provided has the full rent schedule for the whole 10 years.
Isn't
Entire 10 year.
Isn't that just sometimes like when you use the income approach, isn't the built-in presumption that it could be subject to a long-term lease and it may have to go back a number of years?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say the lease itself should be considered in your income approach, most definitely.
So, okay, thank you.
And you did or didn't have that information?
We had partial information, so the actual income and expense was not provided. I didn't
Yeah, an
see
actual
it.
income statement you had delivered to us, or just rent rolls?
You don't need the income statement. When you have the lease.
I'm
you
saying
have-
we do, though.
Well,
And we're
okay,
not gonna go on this back and forth here. We're not.
so here's the rent schedule. It's part of the lease.
Okay. Is there anything else you want us to know as part of your testimony? We're not having this dialogue going back and forth.
No, I just
right,
know
then I'm
that
gonna
I
cl-
provided the lease
I'm gonna
agreement,
close
which has the rent.
testimony unless a commissioner has a question. If there are no questions, I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we accept the assessor's recommendation, recommended value.
Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. I'm gonna make a suggestion. Where I'm at, I guess, is leaving the land, having the land be at the 1.510408 and setting the structure value at 7,361,748 for a total of $8,872,156.
Make that my motion?
Thank you. Is there a second?
Otten, second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Right. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Creekside Associates scheduled for 2 o'clock. And we did have an RSVP. Is there somebody here from Creekside? All right, thank you. Carla, you want to go ahead with your presentation?
Our next parcel is parcel number 200.62.00.001. It's Creekside Associates LLC. It's located at 1110 West Fifth Street here in Canton. It is a dental clinic that was built in 2005, has approximately 7,920 square feet. Our current assessed value is $1,675,907. It looks like it did go to local board. Local board made no change. We do have a recommendation based on information after talking to the appellant that as of November 1 of '24, there was a water heater that was broken and some unfinished flooring. We do have a recommendation to lower the structure value to $1,602,768. We do show some sales, all of dental clinics in and around the greater Sioux Falls area. That was an indicator of, we do have some dental clinics that have sold. So the comparable number 4 is more of assessment equity, showing that we are assessing them all equally based on their occupancy. Currently, the assessed value on this Creekside Associates LLC is $212 per square foot. The cost range from the comparables shows a range between $309 and $310 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $210 and $602, so a huge valuation gap when the market, because sometimes we had to pull from the greater Sioux Falls area. With the recommendation, it does bring the recommended value down to a $203 per square foot. Yes,
You ready for questions?
yes.
Anybody have questions for Carla? All right, and the appellant is here if you want to come up.
Hi, I'm Lisa Logan. We bought the dental clinic in 2017, so we were there for the flood in 2014. And I don't know if you have the pictures there about the flood damage that we had this year. But in the way the HVAC was constructed, originally the big commercial unit sat at ground level. And then in the flood in 2014, the flood took the HVAC unit off of the slab and down into the trees. The ducting at that time was torn off and then flooded, basically the same as it did this year, pretty much over 6 feet in the basement, destroying all the systems down there. So the original owner, to kind of maybe limit the damage, put the HVAC unit on a 4-foot stand, cement slab, which you can see, but I just measured it today, the flooding went up to 9 feet on that HVAC unit. And that cement slab is actually part of the function of the HVAC unit. There's the output and the input of the air return from that unit that goes in there. So when we had the flooding this year, we looked at what some options were, and ultimately it was that unit to be replaced was going to be, I have a quote here from Train, I guess, is there a camera? Did I see that earlier?
Place it right here.
Okay, sure. So this was a quote we got from Train for the unit to demo the ducting in the building, because all the ducting had to be replaced as the Beaver Creek basically just ran through the basement through all the ducting, and it's lined. So what this estimate didn't account for would be that cement structure to raise the unit up. And the problem is that how do you raise this unit up above the flood level? I mean, it's, I don't know, because it'll probably flood again. There's 2 major floods in 11 years. And I do not have an estimate on what the cement structure would have cost to raise the unit up higher. But basically, the way the design was is that that's just how that had to be because of the way the ducting went into the building. So instead, and the estimate was 20 weeks, which would have taken us into November. So in the meantime, we rented HVAC portable units, which cost about $40,000 to rent those for the summer. It was $10,500 a month. Had we had to carry those in more months, it's just that much more. So we went with 6 residential units, had to dismantle 2 office spaces on the main level, which I think there should be pictures in the packet there of what those offices looked like prior to us having to demo them and then putting these units up on the main level. So in my appeal there, I mentioned the square footage that we lost of these office spaces. Had to take out built-in desks, cabinets, bookshelves, ceiling, floor. And so that's where we're at with that. Had to cut holes in the floor to accommodate the airflow and the ducting and that type of thing. So that was the biggest issue, was the change in the HVAC units and lossing of the space. And the other thing I would like to mention is the comparables. They're all in Sioux Falls. None of them have flooded twice, are next to Beaver Creek. So that's one thing why we think it's a good dental office. And I mean, Hoogadorn did a great job of being able to construct it so that it withstood 2 of these major floods. But we can't move the building to Sioux Falls, and we can't move it from Beaver Creek. So the owner of the Canton Dental Clinic, a year ago, we were in discussions for him to buy it. His original offer did not reach the 2024 assessed level. He wasn't interested in going higher. And I think when he made it from Iowa over here a couple of days after the flooding, his first statement was, "I didn't know we were in a floodplain." So I would expect he has not expressed any interest in buying the building since then. So anyway, you see my offer of what I'm requesting is a lowering in the building value, mainly due to the loss of the office spaces on the main floor, and then a little bit of location. I wasn't able to go to the local council or local meeting because we didn't open the mail till the day after our thing is. So that's why there was no adjustment at the local or at the City of Canton meeting, because we weren't there. So just look at my notes real quick here. That's all. Any questions? or-
Yeah, anybody have questions?
Does anybody know what the value of the building was with the 2 offices versus without? Is that basically the difference between last year and this year?
Yeah, it's different with like an office property than a residential property where, like with the basement, there was never any finish down there. So it's not like with this flooding, we came in and then adjusted for $40,000 for a lower level finish because there never was any. That's just where the mechanical utility room was. Now they took out office space on the main floor to put the utilities up there so that there's no less of a flood risk. And so, through the pictures that Lisa provided to us, we did adjust for not having flooring in that room, I believe. And I'm trying to remember. Oh, and then she said at the time, November 1st, at that time, there still wasn't a hot water heater. So they were somehow working around that too. Not only just the AC, but the hot water, I guess. So anyway, we adjusted. We removed the hot water heater and the floor coverings for those 2 rooms that don't have that anymore. They do have sheetrocked walls and sheetrock ceilings. So they're not completely unfinished. They're just not office quality finishings. So
Did
we
you make
adjusted
an-
it to reflect that, and that's why our recommendation is just slightly lower. It's nowhere near the cost of repairs that they've had to endure on this property, but
Well, I'm sure
hopefully
there's insurance proceeds for that, right?
No insurance.
You out-of-pocketed everything on this?
We took out a personal loan for it.
Wowzer.
But
So I do have,
Ethan, did you make adjustments, though, for the loss of 2 office spaces?
the square footage and the changes that were in there, yes.
Okay.
It's still an office. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still looking at square footage inside an office. So we didn't say it's not an office. We just removed some of the finishings that were in those rooms.
Okay. And ma'am, what you're saying is you want the adjustment because you can no longer use those two offices as offices?
Correct,
And
yes.
could you just give me maybe a very quick explanation as to why they can't be used as office space anymore? Is it because basically they're your new HVAC utility room?
Yes, do you have the pictures? Do they have?
No,
the
that
pictures?
didn't make it into the
Oh,
pack.
okay.
Well, hold on one
Let's
second.
see. So,
I just don't see the
all right, so this is
pictures
what.
in my packet here, sorry.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is what the offices looked at. So there are three of them. Two of them we demoed. They have the drop ceiling, built-in desk, built-in bookshelves, et cetera. Two of those we had to demo. We took out the ceilings. We had to cut holes in the floor, so took out the flooring. Both offices had to have holes cut in the floor, like that. There's another picture from the basement level. Here's the ceiling. You can tell it's not finished. There's no drop ceiling anymore. Basically, we had to take that out so they could do the new piping. There's 3 units in each of the offices. One of the rooms, we had to actually take the walls down to the studs there for the ducting. There's a picture of how high the water was. That was initially when the water started going down. It was just at the base of the ducts, and the far duct you can see is torn off already. And that's where the water just ran through the building. That's now, we just covered them up, and that's what they look like from the inside. So, let's see if there's another picture of what those office spaces looks like. It's also pretty noisy in there.
So ma'am, if you
Yes.
put this bin, you really lowered your usable space,
Yes.
usable space by the 2 offices that you lost.
Yes.
So they're non-productive, like you can't use them for
Correct.
operatories, for dentistry at all. Okay.
Correct, yeah. So here's a Word document that I put together. Those were the 2 office measurements. The northwest office was about 106. Now, this is just me with a tape measure. And one of the offices was slightly irregular, so I did the best I could. I think we lost that much square footage in office. I made some adjustments down here. We've been assessed at 7920 square feet, both previously and this year. That didn't change. So I'm requesting the loss in the 216 and a half square feet. The previous assessment in 2024 was 199 a square foot, so I'm asking for that reduction there. They had mentioned that we wouldn't get, that they would make an adjustment for the hot water. And then we still have a lot of repairs to do to the exterior. We have to fix the holes. There's some grading damage. We have to get the old unit out of there. So that's where I came up with the 75,000 adjustment there. So I'm requesting those numbers there, which is, of course, less than what we assessed at.
Did your rentals, did the rent go down, the income for the property?
No, they, our owner of the Canton Dental Clinic pays the majority of the rent, and he's got 3 more years. So he basically was 1 year into his 5-year lease. And the good news is we only lost a week of production. We were able to get those
Right.
portable AC units to get things up and running.
All right, got time for one more question from the board, if there are any. All right, then I'm going to close testimony and ask for a motion.
I'm going to make a motion and go out on a limb and make a motion for what the appellant has asked for, down to 1,300,000.
I second that.
It's 1,369,222. The 1.3 is for the building, 69,222 for the land. You can't just say 1.3.
The total value is wrong.
Oh, I got ya. Okay.
Yeah.
But
So,
I still second it.
But what are we seconding?
well, I don't know what the motion and the second is, but what I'm seeing, maybe they want to clarify.
I was just going by the requested value, not realizing that that was, the total value was incorrect. So you were asking for $1,369,000, or $1,369,222, and leaving the land at the $69,222. Is that correct?
Yes, so when I made my original PT 17, that's what I requested for, and then after some emails back and forth with the Department of Equalization, I realized that they were holding pretty firm. So I actually did a second PT 17 and raised my total value to this number here with the land and then the building value. So I guess I thought maybe I wasn't gonna get anywhere with my first request, so I raised it.
Y'all are basically 102,000 apart.
Can I get a motion?
From this, yeah, I guess so.
I mean, do we
Madam
have
Chair.
a motion?
Madam
We
Chair, I'll
don't.
make a motion to value the land at 69,222 and value the building at 1.459233.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll
I
second that.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? You call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's? Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yep.
Putnam?
Yes.
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here from Brenner? All right, great. Carla, go ahead when you're ready.
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.58.02.005. It's owned by Brenner, number 4 LLC. It is located at 5800 South Broadband Lane in Sioux Falls. It is a office building built in 2007. It has 33,473 square feet. There is a second level. Also, there is a lower level. The assessment went out at $6,004,764. The appellant is requesting a valuation of $5,471,331. It was heard at local board. Local board stayed with the assessor recommendation at $6,004,764. The sales that we're showing are of some comparables that we felt were similar to the subject property because of the office area. They're not exactly the same. They're smaller in some cases. Comp 1 and Comp 2 is quite a bit smaller than the subject property. Comp number 2 is similar in size. It also has a second story and lower level. It sold for $5,750,000 in 2022. The current assessment on that is $5,880,355. So we're still holding our value to a 3-year-old sale. The current assessment is at $153 a square foot. Using the comparables, we range between $134 and $184 a square foot, so right in the middle of the cost comparables. The market comparables show a market range between $157 and $174 per square foot. Again, our overall commercial buildings show a ratio between 83 and 88%, so it's a good level of assessment for our office structures overall, countywide. Excuse me, that's actually just in Sioux Falls. The map will show you where the subject property is located in the northwest corner of the map and where comparables are located. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
All right, if there are no questions for Carla, the appellant, would you like to come on up?
Hi, good afternoon. So as you heard after.
Can you go ahead and just say your name for us?
Yes, I'm Nicole Bell.
Thank you.
Yes. So after this was presented to the local board, as you heard, based on the sales and comp data that was provided, they recommended no change. So I am further appealing today with the hopes that the board will consider using the income approach for this property. So after the local hearing, I provided the financial statement for the property to the county, and I have it here as well. Ooh, small text. So you can see for 2024 year-end financials, the net operating income of the property was just under $404,000. This amount was under the anticipated performance for 2024 and the property's budget by 15.8%, primarily due to some significant expenses that we pursued at the property. We did some exterior painting, exterior block ceiling, and then some HVAC expenses that were not able to be charged back to the 11 commercial tenants that we had at the property. We also had some vacancy at the property in January and February. So I looked at the latest appraisal for this property that we had on file, which was July of 2021. So as you all, I'm sure, are aware, that was a bit of a different market at that time with lower interest rates, was a bit more of an aggressive market that we're in today. They utilized a cap rate in 2021 of 7.5%. So knowing that now the property's, a little bit older and that interest rates are a little bit higher, could probably anticipate a slightly higher cap rate than that. But I proceeded with doing a quick income valuation based on the $404,000 NOI and the 7.5% cap rate. Got to an NOI valuation of $5,382,924. So the initial proposed value was based more on the comp side, which is where that $5,471,331 came from. But after providing further detail, hoping that the income approach can be considered in the valuation.
Anybody have any questions for the appellant?
What approach did you all use at the county? Income or cost approach, or which?
We use the cost approach on all properties, originally, because, income changes every year, so we would have to get an income statement every year from each property to do that approach, which sometimes we do. In this case, it looks like they provided to us. Sales approach, we've given you kind of a range of some somewhat similar comps there. But we relied on the cost approach for this property in that property assessment.
And then when they gave you their income numbers, did you all similarly produce an income approach?
I don't see one here for this. So, to my best knowledge, it doesn't look like we have produced one. But, as far as a cap rate for an office and such, I don't have a lot of comparable data for that at the moment either to do, a real sound or a credible income approach for an office property like this.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, I consider a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the assessor recommendation because the assessor value and the local board remain the same.
Was there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No.
Landine.
I'm just working here on something that I'm still punching numbers in.
Are these triple net leases or are they gross leases?
8 of the 11 at the property are triple net and 3 are gross leases.
So that would need to be considered into these utility expenses then that we're taking out of the net operating income that's stated here. Yeah, so I think you'd have to spend some time really digging.
We're in the
into
middle
this.
of a vote. I'm gonna vote no and ask for a substitute motion.
Madam Chair, make a
Yes.
motion to value the land at 892,955. And to value the building at 5.178376.
Did you have a total on that, Commissioner?
One moment. That total is $6,071,331. So 6.071331.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No,
Landine.
Yes. Need another motion. Right?
No, it was
No.
3 to 2.
Who else voted?
You, me, and Schmidt.
Oh, you voted
I made the
yes?
same mistake last
Oh,
time, Madam Chair.
I thought
so.
my ears heard
3
no.
yes, 2 no.
Gotcha. All right, motion carried. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is item 10, Lloyd Family, scheduled for 2:30.
The next parcel is parcel number 280.87.01.A100. It's owned by Lloyd Family Limited Partnership. It's located between the addresses of 3400 and 3631 Platinum Place in Sioux Falls. It's a multifamily property, 2-story townhomes, 52 units, 8 buildings. The assessment went out at $7,724,741. This was appealed to the local board. Local board lowered it to $6,862,370. The appellant further appealed to County Board of Equalization. A little history about this property is, it's been before you many times before. It started out as not a full 52 unit, they owned partial. They put them back together. They bought the pieces that they had sold in previous years. Again, they brought everything back together. We've had a appraisal on it the last couple years. The last year that the appraisal took place was in 2023. They are upping the valuation from that appraisal from their recommendation, which is $6,536,640. We did review the appraisal. Again, it's old. It's a 2023 appraisal. There are there's some information within the appraisal that could sway the value one way or another, and that's the cap rate, right? So, you can use the prime cap rate, you can use a market cap rate, and even in that appraisal, it says, it can go from this cap rate to that cap rate. So, The cap rate is a hard, sometimes a hard rate to find when you're dealing with multifamily properties. The best way that we can as assessors utilize the capitalization rate is to actually have their interest rate, and then we can have a recap rate from the building, and then we can load it with the effective tax rate. That's one of the best ways that assessors can determine a cap rate. With that being said, we do have some sales of properties that have sold. Again, these properties have sold 2-3 years ago that we're still using as a comparison. We do show one as an assessment equity, showing we are assessing these properties all similarly. The appellant had some comps that sometimes the comps aren't as good as one wishes, but sometimes you just got to find some comps to present to them. But the appellant's comparables are there different types of structures. So you can have your straight townhome, or you can have stacked units where you have a unit in the front and unit in the back. Those valuations are different when we do our assessment on them. We show a breakdown per square foot of the subject property and our comparables. The income, again, is coming in at $5,993,855. We will give you a breakdown by the unit as well for the income comparables. We have spent a lot of time reviewing the appraisal. You can see how thick this file is. It's very thick. There's a lot of information to look at. I'm trying to get it done, in our slotted time, so the appellant has time to bring their information forward to you. But in conclusion, we feel that the property is equally assessed with like properties. We're still within the market range. The income statement was returned with this survey. We did develop that. We didn't find that that was the most credible approach to value, so we relied on the cost approach. With that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for staff? If not, is the appellant present?
Okay, so, yep, as stated,
Again, sorry, can you just say your name?
I'm Nicole Bell.
Thank you.
So this property's had a lot of history. I have some history showing the assessed value, history of the property, and then what we have historically appealed it back down to. So you can see in 2022 it was assessed at just over $4 million. In 2023 that increased to $7.8 million. We appealed that down to $6.1. In 2024 that increased again to $8.4. We got that down to $6.2. And for 2025 they're proposing another 24% increase in assessment. So we kind of keep doing this back and forth on the property. The property was appraised in 2020, was appraised again in 2022, and was appraised again in 2023. So we're spending, a lot of resources to try to get this assessed value kind of in line. In 2021, each of the 52 units was individually parceled. And so to demonstrate to the county and to the city that we're not going to sell these units off to owner occupants, we replatted the whole development, and now all 52 units are in one parcel. So despite whatever, use is deemed to be the highest value, it's a multifamily rental property, and that is the use of the property. So again, I'm reappealing in the hope that we can consider the income approach on this property. The latest appraisal, which was in 2022, had an assumed net operating income of $593,000, and actual 2024 income was $443,000. So expenses are increasing at the property. We've had vacancy, we've had rental concessions. Typically, you'd expect income to grow, but that appraised value in 2023, which was $6.2 million, had an NOI that was 25% higher than actual 2024 data. So hoping that we can utilize the income approach for this property given its use as a multifamily rental property. A 24% increase in valuation is something that's going to be, the property is going to have to assume that in some way, shape, or form. So hoping that as its primary use, we can consider income.
Anybody have questions for the appellant?
Madam Chair, this property has been in front of us a lot. And I have my theories about that, and I think frankly, it's not netting out what the owners thought it would. I don't know if there's a systemic issue here with regard to the assessment methodology, but I'll just ask the questions anyway. And I know last year, me and Commissioner Poppins sat here and we asked this same question. Because he and I would always say, what's the income? Because he and I were big fans of that, and I still am. So if I could just ask, based on you guys did, when I say you guys, ma'am, Miss Bell, you all did the income approach, right?
Yes, so when I did the income approach, so I took the 2024 income, which was $443,000, and the appraisal in 2023 had a 9.5% cap. I used a 7% cap rate because that's what we're seeing in the market, closer to 6 for new properties that have been existing 7. So at a 7% cap, it gets to 6.3 million. And my request is for 6.5.
Is your cap rate the actual cap rate at this property, or did you use the market cap rate? And then you applied it to this property?
I assumed 7% to be the market cap rate.
Okay, so you're probably a little more generous to yourself there by using something that isn't necessarily particular to this property, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, to the folks at the county, did you all do an income approach here or not?
Yes, several.
Okay, and when you do the income approach, what'd you come up with?
With no changes or criticisms to the income or expenses, vacancies, none of that. Just inputting it in there, and then using very estimated loose cap rate numbers. Last fall, the prime rate was 7.75. So we used, excuse me, 80% of the 7.75 prime rate, and the other 20%, if you were to go out and purchase a property, that's going to be your typical parameters for the loan, is going to be an 80-20, 80% loaned, 20% equity, paying ourselves for that equity at 7%, and then loading in the effective tax rate for that taxing jurisdiction of 1.74%, brings us to a total loaded cap rate of 9.34. Again, estimated, and using those numbers, it brought me in just under $6 million for the property. And like I said, I have multiple approaches here. I could give you several different numbers based on some of my estimations, if you would like them.
Ethan, what was the per unit value when you came up with the income approach?
Like I said, I have several estimates using an income approach here, so I'm not sure which one you want. I've got one at $8.3 million, one at $7.9 million, and a few more that are more around that $6 million mark. So
just do the math of divide, what do we got here? 852 units by?
I think wasn't it 115 something?
yeah, do you want the original amount, or,
A lot of numbers swirling around. Want to create some clarity here. I just want to find out if from the assessor's office, if you all came up with a generally concrete per unit number using the income approach.
it's hard to say concrete to that. That would be my response.
In the report, Joel, if you're,
Because I'm not seeing.
it's on it's at the bottom of page 4 of the 6 pages.
Okay,
It's 115,266 per unit.
okay. Thank you for pointing that out.
That's the number that is coming just under 6 million.
And then, ma'am, what's your per unit amount using your income-based approach?
Could you divide the 6? Hang on. I have too many sheets of paper.
125,705.
Thank you.
just gonna point out, it's an interesting irony that the county comes in with a lower value on the income approach, but the applicant comes in, the appellant comes in with a higher amount.
It's because we don't have all the financial, it's a lot of estimations.
Yeah, we're missing some of those facts for the
Yeah,
income
we don't have
approach.
all the facts. That's why our estimations are typically low when we're developing an income approach, and then we don't think it's the most credible approach.
It's a very in-depth, complex approach, and to be very thorough and accurate, I think we would need to use the properties, all the property information, not just, the income statement, which thank you for providing that to us. That's, kind of one way we can work toward that credible, solid income approach. But I think in the end, it's really going to take all the information to do it, especially with the changes in today's, interest rate environment. It's going to make a big difference between the seller's cap rate and the buyer's cap rate.
Are you working on a motion, Commissioner Aaron?
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the assessor recommendation.
Got a motion to accept the assessor's recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
No,
Putnam,
Yep.
Landine.
No.
Was that a yep or a no?
Putnam was a yes.
Yes.
He said, yep.
So I've got 3 yeses and 2 nos. Motion carries.
No, you
No.
have-
No,
No.
other way
Got
around.
2
Yep.
no's and 3 yeses.
No.
you got three no's.
You
Oh,
said
there
Three
you
no?
go.
I
no's.
said no, you said no, Joel said no.
3 no's.
3
So you
no's.
need another motion.
Need another motion.
Motion.
Madam Chair, make a motion to value the land at $984,150 and to value the structures at 6.500000, so 6.5 million.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. If there's no discussion, we call the roll, Alicia.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is scheduled for 2:40. We're past that. Alpine Real Estate Investment. Is the appellant present for this one? All right, very good. Go ahead, Carla.
Our next appeal is parcel number 271.17.01.002. It's owned by Alpine Real Estate Investment Fund, number 6 LLC. It is located between the addresses of 401 and 567 South Cliff Avenue in Harrisburg. It is a new multifamily building built between 2023 and 2024. It consists of 108 units. Square foot of the units total is 117,806, which each unit is approximately 1,091 square feet. Our current assessment went out at $12,597,579. This was heard at local board. Local board made no change. It's a quite a different valuation than what the appellant is requesting. The appellant is requesting a valuation of $3 million. So we are recommending no change. Our current assessment is on the cost approach and reflects other comparable properties. The income approach was reviewed, but the cost approach was deemed the most credible. There's only been one multi-property sale in Harrisburg, and that was in 2019, so it's been quite a few years ago. I do show some comparables on page 2 which will show some assessment equity comparables, showing you that our assessments on these properties are equal to one another. On the fourth comparable is the sale from 2019. It sold for $4,048,800, or a per unit price of $119,083. Our current assessed value is just slightly over the 2019 sale. Our assessment shows $4,351,851 on a sale that's more than 5 years old. We did break it down for you per square foot, per unit. We did include the income information from the subject property. That income approach value came in at $2,218,893. So again, it's a very large valuation spread between the income and the assessed value. Currently, based on the income information from the appellant, vacancies were high. They were at 77% when the questionnaire was returned, and also the expense ratio was well beyond, it was an outlier of all of our multifamilies. So we did not deem the income approach the most credible approach, but we did consider it. We felt the cost approach was a more appropriate approach for taxation purposes. With that, our assessor's recommendation is to keep it at $12,597,579. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Carla, when was the sale?
The sale of one of the comparables was in 2019. So it's an older sale. We just felt it still had some credibility to show that our assessment and the sale price is not far off, even after 6 years gap.
And I would just add to that.
Thank you.
That's also just due to the fact that properties like this haven't sold in the last couple of years. So it's kind of the only choice we have for sales of it.
Did you do income approach on this property?
We did. The income approach is listed on page.
It's a huge
3.
difference.
Yeah, and the income approach came in at $2,218,893.
Yeah, $10 million difference.
Okay, I see it now. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. The owner is here, and I answer a lot of questions.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, just state your name and then go ahead with your testimony.
My name is Jackson Dorhout with Alpine Companies, and I'm just requesting that the income approach would be considered for this property. When we had started the process in March of 2022, at that time there was a discretionary tax formula in place where it was going to be 20, 40, 60, 80 over 4 years, and during the time period from when we had pulled the building permits, Harrisburg had decided not to renew that, and that was we're planning on that, I guess, with our pro forma, and I can show the actual income for 2024. Let's see. Our net income for 2024 was $170,000, and the proposed taxes would be $173,000. And like was mentioned, the income approach total was $2.218 million.
Carla, is that income approach, is that at full vacant, with no vacancy or
That
how?
was at 77% vacancy.
So mostly unoccupied?
Correct.
Did you run it if it was full?
I don't.
I don't
believe-
recall doing that.
Yeah, I don't recall
They
doing
are
that.
available. It's ready for lease up, right? There's
Yeah.
tenants just aren't showing up. And I believe I saw you're giving away 4 months of concessions.
No.
If you sign a lease. Okay, maybe that part was wrong then. I was just gonna say that's the most concessions I've seen anybody offering. So you're obviously trying, but I'll pull that back off. the
Yeah,
table.
So the construction was completed in November, December. So we are running rent specials, not 4 months. And we were doing 2 months free rent. We've had to lower rent. We're doing all the advertising that we can do.
Is there any obsolescence or anything that gets applied to this if it's, if it's location that it's not moving or?
I think at this point, that's still either a hypothetical or extraordinary assumption. Just
Sure.
like when you got this finance, they probably used an extraordinary assumption to assume you're gonna get these rents and assume that you're gonna get these types of occupancies and not see this kind of vacancy on the property. But I don't know what your lease-up timeline looked like, according to the financing, all of that either. I don't know how far off we are here from the mark, but it sounded to me from conversation with you that we're way off the mark of what you expected for lease-up at this point.
Yeah, it's been slower than anticipated. So we're doing everything we can with including leasing specials, marketing, everything we can do to get occupancy as soon as possible.
How much did you build the building for?
Total project cost?
Yeah.
I don't have those final numbers with me. It was over, final construction cost was over 12 million, over their assessed value.
What are you asking for rent on each individual?
So there's a few different units. There's 2 apartment buildings where there's 2 16-plexes, and those are $1,300 a month for a 3-bedroom, about $1,150 for a 2-bedroom, and $900 for 1-bedroom. And then there's townhome styles, and the 2 bedrooms are $1,045 a month, and then $1,195 for the 3 bedrooms. And we've continued to lower rents and either lower rents or offer more move-in specials.
Recently, I just heard a lot of conversation about Harrisburg saying they need all these new apartment complexes. Is that just not the case, or what's going on in the market?
As of now, it appears that's not the case. We're doing all the marketing we can online. Every avenue, I guess, of online marketing, paying extra money on social media to boost posts, to raise awareness. This is across, I think it's the North Middle School. It's right across the street from it. We thought that would drive.
You're not doing like upscale rents here, are you?
No.
I didn't.
No, it's below market for other structures in Harrisburg. Sawyer Point's probably the main comparable.
Right.
And those rents are higher.
Yep. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ethan just did an income approach as improved. What percent of vacancy?
So, you had asked what it would be if it was occupied, at stabilized occupancy, which really honestly, stabilized occupancy for financial purposes is 85%, to my understanding. But more of a typical occupancy rating that I've seen this year is 10% vacancy, 90% occupancy. So if I use the same gross potential income and then only take out 10% vacancy out of there, and I don't adjust these expenses, I'm coming out to $12,529,130. So very close, I think, to whatever
Right.
our cost value was.
Yeah, that is close.
I see it.
But I don't know that these expenses may change with more tenants too, so I don't want to.
Right.
And I did that in like 5 minutes. I don't want to put too much weight on that, but you had asked.
I don't. Joel's proposal.
14 million. I want to correct myself and make that 14 million.
Okay.
I had two cap rate options down here, and I was using the other one than the original one that we had showing you the 2.28 million here. There's debt coverage ratio and abandoned investments methods. So.
And that's based on a cap rate, the market cap rate, as opposed to the actual cap rate?
Not a
affecting
market
the-
cap rate. A market cap rate would be taking a sale price divided by the NOI of a property that is sold. That would be a market cap rate. We do not get that information typically on any sales of properties, anything like this.
Okay.
So we do a band of investments technique for a cap rate where we estimate the financed or discount portion of the rate using what we've been using is the prime rate, which seems to be a little higher than what the bankers are typically offering their clients. And estimating an equity payment of 7% on the 20% that you need to show your skin in the game to your banker. That gives you a total discount rate of 7.6. Then we add in an effective tax rate for the Harrisburg School District, City, and Lincoln County, which is 1.74%. So it's total 9.34% cap rate. Gets us to those two figures. The actual occupancy as is with the income reported, 2.218 million, as we stated earlier. Maybe someday 14 million.
What if you change the cap rate to his actual cap rate?
What is your note rate right now?
I know it's under 5%.
It's going to go way up then.
It's gonna go way up.
I mean,
But what-
but based on today's
But what's your?
occupancy, we
what's
could
your
run
va-
it that way.
What's your vacancy, sir?
So at the time, well, you said it was 77. So it's slowly getting up there. I believe it's 45%, like as of today, for occupancy.
We really shouldn't be considering that, though. I mean, that would bring the property value up, but we're supposed to be valuing it as of November 1st of last fall.
Yeah.
Last year's performance.
Which I guess that is why I'm asking for the income approach to be considered. Because as we can see, the NOI is 170,000, and the proposed taxes are 173.
Mr. Dorhart and I have gone back and forth a lot with email exchanges, and one of his, suggestions, I'm just gonna bring it out there, like a blended approach.
Right, well, that's what I'm
Madam Chair?
thinking is there some middle ground? Because it's such a crazy difference in those,
Something we don't do, but a decision is the board's.
sure.
And our valuation isn't impacted by just to be really clear, there was a change in state law that required all municipalities to pass a new ordinance, which either did allow different types of discretionary exemptions or did not. And the city chose not to pass a new one to keep that program running with the new state law implemented. And that didn't impact our situation or our job, but I can see how it did impact yours, right or wrong or indifferent,
Change the rules in the middle of the game?
His game, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Madam Chair, we'd all like to do something, but I feel this as being the market is what it is. I think that they've evaluated it, and I would uphold our assessor's valuation.
Was that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes?
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
No, motion fails. I'm thinking out loud. It's not always a good thing, but could we run a number that was hypothetically with his cap rate at 70%, 77% vacancy? And you said you think it's 5?
It's under 5. It's just under that.
Let's just run it at 5 once, if we could do that.
Still paying ourselves at the 20% that we're putting up to get this loan at 7%, or pay yourself at 5? I mean, these are questions that we would, figure out, but
I know, I think we're just trying to come to a compromise
I'll leave it at
here.
7. And then the effective tax rate it doesn't change unless you're changing tax districts. So anyway, 7.14% would be the cap rate then. And that as occupied at 23% occupancy would be 2,902,828 total, including land.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm going to make a benefit of the bargain type
Good, that's what I'm waiting for.
motion here. And, baked into this is the fact that I think I hear all this talk all the time about Harrisburg needs apartments. In fact, we just had an election over it, and it was such a big deal, and now I'm having businessmen come in front of us saying, I got half my units that aren't rented. So I'm scratching my head right now. I'm not challenging your integrity, that's not what I mean by it. I think everyone believes you. It's just like, what is going on out in the market there? And how are the wires crossed? So, in terms of the assessed value of the land, I'm gonna leave that at $818,764. But in terms of the structure, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is just kind of a one-time deal. And I just want to create a record of that. This is a one-time situation. But on the structure, and this bakes, what I'm about to say bakes into the fact that I think you will find some success going into the future here, is the value of the structure is going to be $3.7 million.
Do you have a total on that one?
$3.7.
$4,518, or $4,518,764.
I will I will second that as a one-time.
We got a motion and a second, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. So next year, this year, if you're full, you're gonna take a hit.
Yep.
And it'll be probably a shock to your system to adjust it into the future if you get a break this year, just because of what the market is looking like for you right now, or as it was back in November. It's a tough pill for me to swallow to go that far.
You're talking about just one time, this 1 year, that's it? And
These are
go
all-
back
these
up.
are all-
I might be a no on these numbers, but I see where you're going. I'm more kind of in the split the baby between the income and the cost this year, so.
Just so you know, Commissioner, everything we voted on is always one
One year.
time.
Just one
Right.
time.
I'm just saying,
But people expect it, and then they come
Exactly.
in and they want you to lower it back to what it was the year
Right.
before, and it gets used against us when we do give people a break the year before.
so that's
which is
why I'm
unf-
making a big deal out of saying one time, so that everybody knows, don't expect it in the future if you're doing great.
And Jackson as well.
Yes, that'd be great.
That just gives them 1 year.
Yeah, I
We do
can't,
have a
Amnesty.
motion in a second.
I know, and I'm just saying, I don't think I can go that far, so I'll be voting no on it. But I'm with you in spirit, if that makes sense. All right, so we're gonna call a roll.
All right, Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes,
Otten,
Yes,
Schmidt,
No?
Putnam,
No,
Landine.
No.
okay.
Now, if I can get a motion that's somewhere in that midpoint, I would support it.
Make a motion to value the land at 818,764 and value the structure at 6.2 million.
I can support that one. Is there a second?
Second, Otten.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Nope.
Putnam,
No,
Landine.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so then we've got a bunch set for 250 and we're a little off track. Did anybody from CMI Terex ever show up?
Yeah, we got followed up on that email that we talked about earlier, and he just said, you know, even though he had asked if a different day would work, he can't come today. So he just requests that you look at the information he submitted to you, which should
Yeah,
be,
right, and I'll say this, if for some reason we have to come back and hear appeals, fine, but I don't want to bring everybody in just for one. I don't think that's fair to anybody.
no,
So
this is.
we'll see where we end up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We could bring him in on the 29th. Did he just had the one, or she? CMI?
Yes.
How many does he have?
One
He
more.
just has the one, and we gotta come back on the 29th.
Okay.
Do you want us, if you wanna see if the 29th will work for him or her? Cause we gotta be here anyway, so.
Number 3.
Talk about that one.
All right, so, do we have somebody here from Central Park Village? Okay, sir, can you come up to the microphone for a minute? I just wanna ask a couple of questions before we get started. So, for our afternoon, agenda, we've got you down for, items 12 through 27. And it looks based on the parcel numbers, that this is all kind of one block of properties, is that correct?
Correct.
And then they just vary by square footage
Slight
and,
variance in there. I'm
But-
really basing it on a real appraisal that we've got for the whole things and split.
For
it
the
up
whole
is what I'm-
thing.
Is what I'm trying to do.
so normally what we would do is we would take each one of these one at a time and go through them. But if you're okay with it, we can do it all at once, and then when we make a motion on whatever it is, we're just gonna have to, read all these parcel numbers off, as part of the motion. Are you okay with doing that, or do you wanna go unit by unit?
Well, which way are you gonna vote? It really is the same circumstance. I don't mean to be joking about it, but
I just need to know if you're okay
I'm
with
okay
doing
with
it
it,
one way or the other
Yeah,
right now.
Let's do it together.
Okay, so then when Carla's presenting, she's gonna present about the as a whole and her recommendations. And we've got the information in the share packet if we need it. And if you feel like any of these need to be pulled out individually when we're talking about them, we can certainly do that. Go
I'm all
ahead,
for
Carla.
expediting as well.
Go ahead, Carla.
Okay, our next set of appeals are owned by Central Park Village LLC. They are located in the Devitt Development. The address range between 311 and, let's just not do that. Let's not do the address range. They were built in 2022. 2024 is the first year that we placed a full value on them. 2025, they have been appealed to all boards of equalization, so they appealed to the local board of equalization. Local board lowered them, and I appealed them back. So I provided the appellant with a PT 16 that say I was appealing back the local board's decision. And I appealed back the local board's decision because of properties that are like his that have sold. And the comparable number one is probably the best comparable that I have. It also went through the appeal process last Tuesday. We stipulated on a bunch of properties, and Comp One was one of them. I had placed a 20% economic adjustment on them because they had been selling for $285,000. There's some current sales that they are currently selling for $325,000 now, but I have to look at the November 1 assessment date, and as of that date, they were selling for $285,000. So I placed an economic adjustment on those properties to reflect market. And that's what I'm proposing today on these properties as well. That is owned by Central Park Village. I'm placing that same 20% economic market obsolescence on them to arrive at my assessor recommendation.
Carla, can you just maybe elaborate on the math on that, how that works, and then
Sure.
also, because we're considering all the parcels across the board, maybe give a little bit more explanation?
Certainly. So our original assessment went out at $302,671 on this first parcel. After applying the 20% market adjustment based on the comparables, it lowered the value down to $239,640. Are those the numbers that you're?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your recommendation has been lowered from the original assessed value on all of these properties?
Yes.
And have you had any discussions with the appellant about agreeing to those amounts?
No. The appellant has a different value that they are wishing to present to the board based on an appraisal of the entire development and not particularly on each parcel, but the entire development as a whole. These are individually parceled. They could be sold as each unit. His appraisal is based on selling the entire.
Right, we've had this issue before.
It should also include a hypothetical condition then that these are to be sold as one property, and that's why that appraisal would appraise them together for some type of financing deal.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, we can I think that's fair game to dig into here in a few minutes, and when they present their side of the.
Does anybody have any other questions for Carla right now? All right, if not, then sir, you can come on up and make your presentation. If you want your appraisal made part of the record, you'll need to provide a copy to the clerk.
Oh, isn't it already in there? Do you already have a copy of it? We'd sent it in when we did.
Is it in your,
Is it in the?
let me look. I am not,
Under confidential.
I don't,
We don't,
I don't see it.
we don't have a link.
We don't.
Our system doesn't work the same way.
I got a summary page, but I did not bring it because I thought we had it, because we did submit it. Mhm.
The confidential document is not under your board document.
It is not.
Well,
I don't see it.
no.
What would it be called? I mean, it'd be called I've got a PT 16, PT 17, the assessor's recommendation, and the briefing form.
Yeah, and then in the briefing form, it only lists 3 attachments. It doesn't list the 4th attachment, which would have been the confidential appraisal.
So we don't have that.
I don't see what it's at. Hold on, I might be able to work something like that.
All right, thanks, Sherry.
Which one did you attach it to?
Carla, do you have it as part of the appeal packet?
It is part of our appeal packet.
Is there any way that we can get copies of it?
But it wasn't attached to the agenda, right? I'm not showing a confidential document on it.
Yeah, that's probably the case. How would we make that a part of the record now?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily have to be part of the
Well-
record because it's confidential. But if you guys can give it to me, I can attach it to one of them.
If he provided it and you end up in court, you're gonna need it. And he wants to present it, and he has presented it, but we don't have it.
He referenced it in his PT 17, because it said assessed value is higher than appraised value. Because when I read that, I was like, oh, there must be an appraisal.
It's not attached, it's not really intended. I'm gonna attach it to the first, the parcel that ends 002.
And it is submitted as confidential, correct?
I'll mark it
So-
as confidential.
So we don't need to discuss the workings of it on the record. I just want to make sure it's part of the record.
Do you wanna look and see if you can see it now on the first?
Where'd you attach it?
Under the 270-81.
Yep, I got it. You just had to hit refresh.
Well, no, I just put it on there.
No, I know, but it's there. After I hit refresh, it's there.
All right, you guys have the confidential document.
All right.
Look at that, it's like magic. Showed up.
You are so good.
Take a look at page 3.
I'm there. And again, these are confidential numbers, so let's remember that.
How many units are there?
16.
Thank you.
Can I ask Carla a quick question? I thought you went up from the original estimation, because I was looking at the assessment, what you came back at this time after they lowered it to what we asked for, and then I did a calculation here. Some went down, but most of them went up.
Up
Does that
from
seem
the
right?
local board decision.
This is from a local, I think. I may have it wrong. You think you went back to the original? That's what I was
No, because you can see, this is the original.
Commissioner, check that, 16.
And that's my recommendation.
16.
I counted wrong, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You can
okay.
look at
That part threw me off, but well, the basis of mine is the appraisal. So, and I do have a little story to tell along with it, if you'll hear me out.
It's your time.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yes.
It's running
What
out.
what the story on this is, I assume we're looking at, I hadn't looked at this, I assume we're looking at, compared to some residential sales is what we're comparing to on these individual sales. Would that be correct, Carla?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. The history on these townhomes is, we did build them to try and sell them to begin with, had absolutely no success. We were marketing them at where we were just basically break even, couldn't get there, so we decided to rent them and turn it into just one unit for a longer term appraisal, or a longer term approach, knowing, trying to make it work out there. The appraisal that you're looking at is based on, and it is one complete project there, indeed in separate parcels because of the history of it. So we think the market, and that's with the interest rates going where they were, the market really didn't keep up. So we started to work on renting them. If you look at that appraisal, actually I should have looked this up beforehand. We were originally asking for, because of the cost of these things, right around a couple $1,000s a month, and then could not rent them. And then we started lowering the price. The appraisal is based on that original assessment. So in fact, so as it's operating now, We did not get the rents we wanted. We ended up having to cut them. I think we ended up about $300 less than that. We had to do months free and that same type of stuff to your questions about what's going on with the market there. We have gotten to the point where we filled it up. And if you actually ran that appraisal, left everything else alone that he's got, and did it on the current rents that we've got, and my brother went in on this one, instead of 190 a unit, you'd be at 132 a unit, is where you'd really be based on that appraisal. But knowing what kind of ask that was, we'd ask for the appraisal price when we came in. So, and that appraisal is dated, January of '24, so quite recent.
Does anybody have any questions for the appellant?
So, sir, I took your, without saying the confidential numbers here, I took the two numbers in yellow. The first one is for the market value of the site. Second one is for the value of the excess land. So just to make, I want to make sure, tell me if I'm looking in the right place or the wrong place here.
You are looking in the right place, and the excess land is separately parceled and separately assessed, yes.
So if I was going to divide the number of units by the improved portion of the site number.
You'd use that top number. That's how I came to my number. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I should not add in the bottom number.
Because it's separate parcels that we're being assessed on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to do some quick figuring then.
So are these individual units currently for sale?
No. And not the intention at this point.
Were they for sale last November?
Probably, I don't quite remember when we decided to change. Probably not in November. It was end of summer and it wasn't going. We had some partially finished and obviously got a big investment at that point, so had to change gears, which was always plan B when we started. You try to have at least an A and a B.
So Carla came up with $239,630 per unit without revealing the confidential information, which if I said the per unit number, someone will be easily able to listen to this tape and take the number 16 and reverse engineer what the number is. So I want to be clear. But at some point in time, during this conversation today, we're going to have to talk about that number. Your per
It'd be
unit
public
number.
record when we're done anyway.
Right.
I'm frankly okay with that, so.
Okay.
Mm.
So the number I come up with, if I did my math correctly, was 224,062 per unit. Would you agree with me?
I got 197.53.
Okay, well, I didn't go to school for math, so.
I'm not sure, not knowing what you're looking at, can I come and flip, see if this matches real quick? Can I show it to you?
Yeah, let's make sure we're talking, let's talk apples to apples here.
What was the intended use of that?
Oh, that's right, I forgot I did that, which actually.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's that old. I can't make that.
You're correct.
I love hearing that.
So I didn't punch it back in. Your number might be, that was a misunderstanding on my part about the 85% section of, that's in the law. You're right. And I've got it right there. I think it's probably in the version you see. I think that's what we submitted, or not.
And so the point I'm coming up with is, you're at 224,062, and the county is at 239,630.
And what was your calculation one more time on that top number?
Here, and the county's here. The calculation was your top number divided by 16.
And how'd that come, because I forgot what the number was, how'd that come out against the county?
Well, your number is 224,062. That's the per unit cost. The county's number is 239,630.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure we know where the goalposts are and how we're going to move in between them.
Understood. And if I understand right, I use the 85% to be clear is what you're talking about, but that's usually, once it's assessed, it's 85% on the tax rolls, right? Is where I got my math wrong about that? So you're correct. I applied that to what I've got here, is the calculation. So I guess I would still ask that we at least look at the appraisal. And like I said, if you look at what we actually got for rents, it'd be significantly below what the just using the same formula, if I just plugged in the current rents, we'd be well below what that number is, so.
You know, we don't ever take the appraisal number as gospel, of course. And so I'll ask the question
Mm-hmm.
for myself, but Ethan brought it up was, well, did you get that number because of the potential of like doing a jumbo package loan or kind of a package deal here, being able to sell all of them as some kind of, you know.
No. And not as good a rate as I heard just a few minutes ago. They've climbed a little bit since then. It was really just to refinance, construction financing and move on to making it a rental project, was what it was. It's not really big enough to get that much attention for special financing. This is really a local bank one. You got to be a bit bigger size before you get, the kind of loan, if I understand, we've got bigger apartments where you go out to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and that type of stuff and get that financing. I think that's probably what you're thinking about.
All right, we got time for like one more question. We need to kind of get to our making motions point. Is there anything, any last minute thing you'd like us to know?
No.
Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, I know in years past, when we get an appraisal, we tend to put a lot of value into it. I also appreciate the work and the professionalism of the county as well, coming up with their numbers. What's interesting is the original county number was 302 and change, and then when they added in the 20% economic factor, it drops down to 239. But the appraiser is still at 224. And I guess I'm just going to do I appreciate their work, appreciate the appraiser. I'm going to do a meet in the middle. And I'm going to do a per unit, just do some quick math here.
If we're gonna do this as one motion, we're gonna have to figure it out, I suppose, by a percentage on each parcel, if you're gonna reduce it by so much.
I take 239 minus 224 to $15,000. I do a meet in the middle, it's 7,500. I take 224,062 plus 7,500. I'm just coming up with a per unit price of which I didn't do correctly. Thank you, Madam Auditor. And so that's going to be the basis of my motion, Madam Chair, is that number. Could you say it again, Sherry?
231,851. So we're gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are all different,
Yeah.
we got
Yeah,
different sizes, we've got different land values, they're not all identical, and they're separate parcels. So,
So it's nice that it be.
Yep.
so if we can figure out a percentage reduction, what that amounts to, we could do that across the board, and then I don't know if that means you're leaving the land where it is. So you'd have to figure out what the percentage reduction is on the structures.
Carla, the 302,671 number that the county came up with, was that total unit cost with both structure and land on unit,
Yes.
on unit number one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and her new total was 239,640.
which is 20%, and I'm going just a little more than that, so I'm trying to figure out how much above 20% I went. If anybody could do that math with me.
20% on the.
Structures,
20% on the structures.
correct.
But he's thinking more like 22, 23 per,
Thinking that's what the math's gonna come out here. I'm doing it longhand here.
Can you repeat your question?
What would be, if I did a 231, 851 per unit value, what is the percent, what does that come out as a percentage?
from the 239.
Yeah,
I go 239.
well, off of 302,671.
No,
Two-
because.
She's changed her recommendation.
I'm sorry, yeah, off 239,630, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so 231, 851 divided by 239, 640 is 96.75%, 96 and 3/4.
So another 4% onto 20 is 24%,
Yeah, 3.25% more.
so 23.75. So my motion then would be to value the land at what it is currently for all the structures, and then to apply a 23.75% discount on the structures, right? No?
She's already applied 20%.
And I'm,
3.7.
So to make up what you're saying, it would be another 3.75. So if I took times, then you're reducing it by 89, 86.5, if that math is right. So it's leaving the land the same, reducing the assessor recommendation by another 3.75%.
that's correct, Madam Chair.
Is that your motion?
It is.
So you want to apply that math to all of them, or you want us to go through and calculate all of them?
No, I would just do it across the board.
We're just gonna do the percentage on the structures is what I'm understanding and leaving the land values as they are.
So on that, then I'll take, what I'll have here is on the 5017 that Carla gave me, what she gave me for a land value, I'll take that times 3.75%.
We're gonna leave the land the way it is.
I'm sorry, the structure value, take that times 3.75%, lower it, and that's what the value will be.
Right.
Yes.
In other words, you take it times 96.25%, and that would give you your new value.
Okay, so you want to move that across all of them.
Yep, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read these parcel numbers quick, or actually.
Need a second.
Yep, I do need a second, but I need that as part of our motion, the parcel numbers, so Joel, do you wanna,
I can read them.
yeah, if you wanna read those as part of the motion and restate it, that would be great.
So my motion applies to the following parcel numbers. 271,
Whoops, nope,
oh,
yeah, number
sorry.
12,
270.81.13.002. And the same 7 numbers will be the same. In sequence, .003, .004, .005, .006, .007, .008, .009, .031, .032, .033, .034, .035, .036, .037, .038.
that's it.
And my motion is to add the additional 3.75% discount to the structures on top of the 20% already added by the assessor's office. And my motion is also to make no change to the land value.
All right, does everybody understand the motion? Alicia, do you have it? Okay,
Thanks.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? If there's no discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Sustain.
abstain. Abstain, is that what you mean? Okay. Landine.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'll be back.
I see that.
I'll just leave it sitting here.
Yes.
All right, at 3:30, it's now 3:38, we've got item 28, Betty Midland Trust. Is that gonna be you is that gonna be you again?
Yes.
Okay. Carla, we'll handle this one separately, because it appears to be separately owned.
Yes. The next four will be separate.
It looks like more than that.
Oh,
We're just doing this one right now, right?
we're doing just one?
Yeah,
Agenda item 28.
28.
28.
Because 29 and below is different, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I think Mr. Van Buskirk's here to represent everything that's under a Midland property, whether it's this one or the other next
Yes.
30 or whatever that is.
Does that, I mean,
Do you have all of
trust-
those too, Mike?
excuse me, 28 has a completely different parcel number, it looks like different location. They don't look like related properties, so we're going to handle 28 separately.
Okay.
The next four parcels will be handled separately because they are remainder portions of the development.
Okay.
Some of which is a sidewalk, one is a detention pond.
Right.
One is, okay.
So 28 we're gonna handle separately, and then we'll handle the next three together. Can we do that?
Nope.
Nope. They're all,
Different.
they're all different. One of them is a retention pond, one of them is a sidewalk.
Okay, so then let's just go with
Okay.
28.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next parcel is parcel number 270.55.76.4040, owned by Betty J. Midland Revocable Trust. It consists of 18.58 acres. It's located in the Midland Estates development, is the unplatted portion of the development. Our current assessment went out at $381,286. It was not heard at local board. It's a direct-to-county appeal. When we look at these properties that are in a development and are not developed, we have a land table set up. It's very similar to our land table that we have on some of our rural properties. We applied that same formula to these undeveloped developments, that portion of the developments. You will see on these three comparables that we show are all in, one of them is in Harrisburg, where we show our price schedule. It's priced the same as the subject property. The other two comparables that we show are located in Sioux Falls, but again, we're showing where our pricing schedule is being equally applied to all like properties. Again, this property consists of 18.5 acres of undeveloped land. It's current as a whole being assessed at $20,070 per acre. And using our comparables, the comparable range is between 21,396 per acre and 39,787 per acre. You can see where our subject property is located. It's in the Midland development, yet to be developed. Comp 1 is also located in Harrisburg. Comps 2 and 3 we're showing in the Sioux Falls. Again, we're just showing where our valuation system is being equally applied to all like properties. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Carla? All right, go ahead, sir, when you're ready.
Okay, the,
Mike, just 1 minute. On this parcel of 18 acres, are those all buildable lots available?
that's gonna be the detention pond, right, is what I'm thinking?
Or is that,
No, that's a separate parcel.
Oh,
Yes, potentially, the majority, there could be some streets running through there, but
so we're talking
it's this one
about
here,
the-
right?
it's in the blue, so it's not the detention.
The detention pond is the dark area.
Yep, that's our next appeal.
But it's just outlined in blue.
It's just the outline in blue, yes.
I think you're seeing what's left of the right of way to the north there, along the north and east sides of those two ponds there. I think you're just looking at what's left of the right of way and the legal description that just will get cleared up with the next plats.
So would you guesstimate, Mike, how many buildable lots you have on this thing? You have any idea?
Well, I'm standing in for Steve, so give me 1 second. I was thinking this was the detention pond, so I'm already on the wrong spot. Hold on 1 second. Is this yours or mine? Okay. So it actually, it's down to the street here?
Yes.
This is the parcel we're talking about? And what's that?
Would you like me to pull it up on Parcel Browser where? it's
I'm
a
looking
bigger-
at it on Parcel Browser, and it looks really strange.
It is.
Well, I gotta make sure I was more ready for the, okay, let me make sure I'm oriented on this one.
Non-essential lots.
Well, you're gonna have a bunch of parcels there backed up to
See
the,
the road.
This is just a little block, it looks like.
He's got a few
I think
lots.
you're looking at my house.
That's the road, and like
Goes
Ethan
around
said,
the
this is the
pond.
right of way. It does not include the
Right.
detention. It's just this part down here.
It's 15 there.
7055.
Oh, that ain't 18 acres.
But their farm is not, is that part, that's not part of the development, right? That's their own, that's the part they're retaining, isn't that
Carla,
right?
can
I-
you look at this on Parcel Browser?
wouldn't-
I'm
Yeah,
looking
let's
at
do that real
something
quick.
completely different.
I don't think that we would necessarily know that.
these lots right
It's
here.
still under the trust though, so
Yeah,
I
it's
think
a
what you're
trust.
inferring is probably.
And the rest are not under the trust, right? They're under Midland?
Right, they're moved into an LLC.
Okay, yeah, they're retaining this. What did he request for value on that one?
95.
Going around the road, up and over.
Because
And you've
he's
got
trying
a
to
20 you
do-
just showed, or 20 an acre is what you got?
Yeah, 20 acre.
Okay.
Maybe this is, maybe.
That's not bad.
That's a detention pond.
Well, that's a little.
Sorry, I wish this
The
was
imagery is a couple
I
years
knew
old that you're
exactly where
looking
I
at
was
too.
at in my file
If you drive by, you'll
right in
On
front.
Parcel Browser?
differences. Yeah,
on Parcel Browser, at least, but
You want to look at what comes up on Parcel Browser?
Carla's bringing it.
yeah.
And I'll apologize. The other ones I'm better oriented on. This one I gotta go myself around real quick. So they own this yet, right?
It's
Go down-
it's everything that's
Yep.
highlighted in blue.
and at
So
this
it's
point,
the-
there's a tarred road from Estate Street all the way
Yeah.
over to the edge of 918 Estate Street.
You got-
Yeah, correct.
you got
Okay.
a lot of buildable land.
And that's the old home place right there is what it
That's the
is.
whole point.
So currently, we aren't developing this, is the quick answer. If I had to estimate, yeah, it's still owned by the family. We've partnered with the family on the other portions of the property that we'll be talking about today. If you just carry that street, I mean, just visually, Jim, to answer your question, I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably, corner lots are bigger, probably 5 more lots on out to the street if you just carried Estate Street on out per side, roughly. Maybe 6 is what I would guess. And then that parcel along the land was probably, well, it depends whether you put a street in here or if you went in and did something more like multifamily. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you'd probably string another 10 along there, 10 along there. And usually these are twin homes, so they're a lot bigger is what goes on. So I'd say to carry out a State Street, both sides, you're probably looking at roughly 10 more lots, and then 15 more lots per side coming down, if you took a road straight across the lower
About
portion.
22 dozen, let's say.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
And on his valuation, he requested 95, right? Why do I not have that in front of me? I think I got the rest of these, but not that one. So imagine what he's looking at, it's not under development right now, is really what's going on here with this.
But that's-
It's owned by them, so,
But you haven't put any of the infrastructure in or anything like that as well?
no,
Yes, there's infrastructure in there.
Well, there's no road.
That's an old imagery.
Oh, okay.
That's
All
old
right.
imagery.
Is this road popped in here?
Yes.
Okay.
The difference on this is Steve handles this end of the world and I handle the other end of the world in ours, so I'm bringing myself up to speed real quick. Apologize. Yeah, actually, I think well, let me look, can I look up one more thing real quick?
You bet.
Well, actually, you said the road's in there. I don't need to do that. I'm not gonna try and kill your time. I know you're running behind already. It ends right where these lots do right now, right? The road that's currently in there?
Currently, yes.
Yeah. So this is developed to here. But nothing's developed in here. I don't believe any infrastructure's in or anything. It's still,
They're working on the street, it looks like. They've got the curb and gutter put in, and they've got all those other lots
We-
along there as well.
we graded it for future, right? Mhm. And this still has dirt getting hauled in to get it up high enough to make it developable in there. If you look, there's piles, this is my way home. I drive by it all the time. There's piles coming in, yep.
But you would sell it for more than $95,000.
Well, it's more about the equalization effect, but yeah, but also you'd have to put a lot of infrastructure in to get to any sort of pricing. So-
All right, I don't know if we're doing testimony or what's going on right now, so
Sorry,
have you told us what you want us to know about the property?
I believe so. That portion, except for the part that runs in front of the lots, is not under development. It's probably the main issue.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have any questions for the appellant?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the assessor recommendation.
Got a motion? Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
Madam Chair, make a motion to value the structure at $8,386.
8,300 what?
Sorry. Madam Chair, make a motion to value the structure at $8,386 and to value the land at $250,000.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion.
Got a motion and a second for discussion. Any
to vote
discussion?
on that,
Any
sure.
discussion?
Vote.
All right, we can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No.
Landine.
No,
Okay.
it's a little too big a spread for me from what the assessor recommended and with the history, the assessment history.
Oh, I'll take another stab at it. Madam Chair, make a motion to value the structure at $8,386 and to value the land at $335,000.
I'm just, oh, is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. What I'm looking at, Commissioner, is that the total assessed value from our assessor is actually less than the valuation last year, which don't see that very often these days.
Yeah.
That's because there's plats that are coming out of this parcel as it gets developed.
Well, I'm just saying it's less, so.
Yeah, it was 311,000 in '23.
Yep.
and then 383 this year,
That's it.
or 24.
That was that was last year.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the structure be $8,000 and the land valued at $311,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No,
Landine.
No. I just don't think land appreciates like that.
Commissioner Otten, I'm sorry I didn't say yes on your deal at first.
Well, I'm waiting for a motion, so you can sure make a motion if you want.
Madam Chair, make a motion to value the land at 350,000, value the structure at 8,000.
Got a-
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not,
Sounds good.
will you call the roll, Alicia?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Otten,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes,
Landine.
No. Motion carries.
3-2. We
All
got three
right.
other parcels.
We do.
Oh, we have quite a few more.
There's a lot more. And remember, I have to leave at 4 o'clock.
Well, you've been dinking around here now.
So you know what that means.
hit the road, Jack.
The next parcel is parcel
You
number
both know.
270.94.00.A100. It's owned by Midland Estates LLC. It's located in Harrisburg. It's Tract 1 Midland Estates additions to the city of Harrisburg. It's 12.97 acres, and it is the detention retention ponds that are part of the development. We do have a recommendation for board to excuse me, we do not have a recommendation. I was thinking there was. Currently, our detention ponds throughout the entire county, we, piggybacked off what Minnehaha did, is the assessment is $1,100 per acre, so that's the valuation that we apply for our detention ponds. So, that's how our assessment is. You can see on the comparables of other detention ponds, we have them assessed at $1,100 per acre as we do the subject property. We're requesting $1,100 an acre. Our cost of our comparables is $1,100 an acre. So with that being said, assessors are recommending no change to this property.
How did you come up with $1,100, just out of curiosity?
Years ago, when I was hearing appeals in Sioux Falls, that was brought to me by the city board to value them similarly as Minnehaha. At that time, I approached Minnehaha. They had told me they are using, the $1,000 or $1,100 an acre. I used that to be consistent in Sioux Falls, and then I applied it countywide. We share the same city, we should be valuing very similarly, so that's why that process was in place. Oh, I'm sorry.
So we have a detention pond that's valued at $1,100
Per acre.
per acre.
Yes.
Okay.
I can make our story quick on this one. I know you're underway. We don't see any value in it because eventually it gets turned over to the city anyway, is what happens with these things. It's not saleable, it's not usable. To us, it has zero value, is why there's a zero estimation in there.
Well, I mean, that's what my concern is didn't we have a history in the past, and I'll make this quick, Madam Chair, where people just didn't want to pay the property tax on retention ponds, and then they ended up getting turned over to the county anyway?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, over by T there, they did that. Now the fire department can use it now. Before they wouldn't let them.
Oh, and there's all kinds of others around the county where they
Did you have a
just-
comment on that, Carla?
Yeah.
Well, in one of the other appeals that we had heard earlier today, I showed you some sales of detention ponds, and they sell to the city for high dollar amounts.
But not always. They have to
But
be
not always,
detention
you know.
ponds, So there are special circumstances around it. So, I don't know if this is a regional detention pond. I know that there was an arrangement with the city to try to alleviate drainage from other prior developments along with this development. So, I don't know if there was a number put on it or if there's a negotiation to be had or if you're just gonna give it away. Sometimes they do and sometimes they get paid a couple $1 million for it. It depends on how they
Yes.
arrange that.
We found several of them, and it was part of a presentation earlier today.
Is the intention to give this to the city?
Yes. We did work, because Harrisburg's so flat, we did work some detention ponds in next to, the city park there with the lake was actually a detention pond. That got worked into more of a TIF program, as I understand here. This one will be a leftover one that I'm sure just serves the subdivision. Usually they're turned back over to the city. Sioux Falls there too. You're right. Regional ones, they'll come and pay for those, because it serves more than just that subdivision. But I'm pretty confident looking at the size of this one, it's probably just for this subdivision, so,
And
This
you're,
is, okay.
yeah.
and you're not going to sell it?
No.
Okay.
Do you have a motion, Commissioner Aaron's?
I'd value it at 3,566.
I second that. As long as everything goes that way.
Is there a second? You,
Yeah, I second it.
was that a second? Okay.
That was. I'm sorry.
No,
It was a second.
you're, there was a contingency on the end, so I wasn't sure.
As long as it goes that way.
Yeah, right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
No.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
No. Motion carries.
Get her done.
Okay.
Okay, now you're the boss. Jim.
I want one more.
Oh,
Our
All
next
right.
appeal is parcel number 270.94.00.A400.
should I?
It is owned by Midland Estates LLC, located in Harrisburg. It's tract 4, excluding blocks 4 and 5 of Midland Estates to the city of Harrisburg. It's approximately 2.422 acres. We have assessment went out at $3,165. We are recommending to apply the same $1,100 per acre for that drainage area, making a recommendation value of $2,664.
I did find my notes and stuff. Really, where's Steve's? So this is the same situation. As you can see, that one's developed around. Nothing's gonna be happening back in behind there. It's another drainage area that'll be orphaned in behind the properties. Hence, he requested 0 on that one as well.
I'm looking for a motion.
I'm looking at the right one.
You should be on 30 on your agenda.
Yeah, I think so.
we're talking about A400?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that going to be? That's just going to be turned over again to the city, or what? That's just,
I believe that would go over to the city as far as the ownership goes. I was just looking that up myself. Once again, I know it's for drainage through there in this area, so it really has no usable
okay.
approach after that. It can't be sold off to the rest. And if it was gonna be dedicated to the neighbors, we would have platted to the middle, would be our typical approach to that. So I'm sure it's just dedicated back to the city when it's done, and probably runs through there on out to that drainage pond beyond.
Madam Chair, make a motion to value this parcel at $1,500.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Alicia, we call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries.
Damned if it
All right.
Let me see, that was 31,
Are you
31.
prepared to do this? I'll stay for another half hour.
If you would.
You were quick to volunteer that.
Our next parcel is parcel number 270.94.03.16, 270.94.03.016C, owned by Midland Estates. So we do have a recommendation is much lower than the requested value. Hopefully that's something that is considered. We didn't provide a whole lot of information to this. It's a sidewalk. It's just a shared sidewalk between property owners
And you dropped it down lower.
to $183.
Guess I'm
You're,
curious.
you're
why
good
they-
with that, aren't you, sir?
Yep.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to accept their assessor's
Otten.
recommendation.
Is there, Otten got the second? All right. Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Sir, on the next, we got items 32 through 73 on our agenda. Are you also wanting to address these as one appeal?
Yeah, can I explain the principle real quick? Would that be possible to show what we're talking about? The,
Well, I just want to know if it's okay if we handle these together. That's the first question. I know there's some differences. If you want to group them by whether they're a walkout or a garden, we can certainly do that, but I don't want to get too lengthy because we've already pretty far behind.
yeah, no, I know we worked before. The tiered pricing is the discussion there. Can we hit that one or not? Sorry, I'm trying to shortchange it too. The,
So their requested value is based on, they want these lots to be priced similarly to those undeveloped lots. And they're working towards that situation currently.
it's in process, getting done, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing been filed in the Register of Deeds office. So I'm valuing as of November 1 of 2024. But that's what their requested value is based on taking these lots, putting them back into tracks.
It's a
definite-
hypothetical condition that a plat is filed and combine these tracks back together.
Which has not been done at this point.
Well, I've got a whole.
So right now, they're all separate,
They are all
obviously.
separate lots.
There's a system that's in place that other people have been using, and Steve said he understood from you that if we got it back to that system, we could apply the same sort of approach. Basically, what it's done, it's more of a bulk approach to the land, because when you break it out and you assess every lot at that value, you get tremendous costs in there, which we pass on, makes less affordable lots, that type of thing. So the idea is to get treated the same as the other ones, and the plats are in place and with the city right now is where they're at, so.
The plats have not been filed, but once they are filed, we'll put that same pricing that you've seen all day long. The first 2 acres at X, the next several acres at Y, and the, remainder portion, but nothing's been filed. I cannot develop a formula based on,
It would essentially go back to Appeal 28, right? It'll be combined back with that parent parcel or tract.
No.
That is undeveloped with.
Well, basically, we found them in Lenox, Sioux Falls, two of them in Harrisburg. We found examples of the exact situation where developers are, I got them right here, I can show those.
but those are, can we show you?
Here's-
Yeah,
It is very complicated,
it
and
might help to see this, to answer your question real quick.
And I visited with not you, but the other Van Busker in regards to this, because this is one of the properties he's pointed out, and he goes, I want to be valued like them, right here. And I said, well, that is one tract of land. Your development has been platted into lots and blocks. This is one tract. We treat it the same as we do all the other large tracts. You're not like them. Once you become like them, we will value them accordingly. But nothing has been filed. I can't treat these lots and blocks like them because that's not them.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Understood.
Yeah.
So I'm back to my original question. Do you want to handle these
I know-
together, or do you want to handle them individually?
I want to help you get out of here too, is what I'm thinking about. The principle's gonna be the same on all of them. I'm a little reluctant to say not go through them individually, because it's a pretty important issue, thousands of dollars in property tax we're talking about here. So I'm struggling with your question just a little bit. But basically the argument's gonna be the same, but I do want to make the case for that is what I'd like to do. I'm not sure the best way to approach it.
Do you think there's any middle ground that you two can come to a stipulation on?
What do you?
I do believe there is another method other than this valuation.
Okay.
It's gonna be a commissioner approval.
No, I understand that, but you haven't had an opportunity to discuss that, correct? Would you like the opportunity to discuss that?
Is there a possibility to kick it out to, you said there's another meeting on the 25th or something, or some day coming
There
up?
will be another meeting on the 29th for us to adjourn as the Board of Equalization. If we have to, we can bring you back.
Or we could run it through it. Well, it sounds like we're obviously on different ends of this. I've got, it's kind of just the unfair treatment between this and other developments and the cost that it brings to it. Obviously, when you fully value lots, the principle wise, so.
So what I'm hearing is that we need to go through these individually, and because we're not, I don't think, gonna treat this as one big lot, because it's not one big lot. They're
Correct.
individual parcels.
Yes.
Is there any
But-
value in you all going out into the hallway for a few minutes to discuss this?
What do you think?
Just,
Right, because the solution that I may have is not based on evaluation of the property. It's a different method.
So there would be value for you two to go out in the hallway and try to talk resolution then, is what you're hearing, telling us?
that's the same thing I'm asking.
The resolution would become from the decision you decide to, if you decide to do that. It would not be my decision, it would be my suggestion.
Can we tackle one lot and see where that takes us?
Yeah, that's what I was
Actually,
thinking. Just do it.
we have went way over on our time for all these properties. I've got other people waiting. This is not fair to them. So my patience is getting short.
Mine did start 40 minutes late too, I think it was.
You've had well over the allotted time, I believe.
Well, per unit though, not
I had
quite.
250 and we started about 3, I'm not looking to argue with you, we started late on mine too. I recognize the time. That's why.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If Ethan could proceed on to the next two appeals, I do not mind stepping out in the hallway with Mr. Van Busker.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
All you had to say is yes. Have a cup of coffee.
So we are going to take up our appeal that was scheduled for 3:40, Don and Dawn Hoffman. I see you, Don.
All right, so our next appeal is parcel number 09950032010. It's located at 47327 273rd Street, Harrisburg, South Dakota. It's 61.09 acres. It does have a home built in 2022 on slab, 1,495 square feet. We currently have it valued at $501,003. It is a agriculturally classed property, so the land and structures are classified as agricultural, and the land is valued on productivity. You can see on our three approaches to value here, we currently have and I believe the appellant is appealing the value of the structure, of the home itself. And so that's where we've focused the conversation here, or our appeal information. We have the subject property assessed at $180 a square foot, just when we're talking just about the house and not any of these other outbuildings. We have our comparable homes or properties assessed at, or between $189 a square foot and $242 a square foot. And they're selling between $189 a square foot and $266 a square foot. Here you can see what the appellant's requesting and what we're recommending, along with what the local board change or lack of change was. Here's our recommendation. No change. Cost method is applied the same way. The structure's in and out of city limits. The pricing reflects current building costs and depreciates the cost of the structure based on age. Structure value in 2023 only reflects partial assessment of 75% of construction. Home was also not graded at the time, which is typical for our incomplete construction projects. Typically, we grade finishes and such after the project's done and those finishes have been installed, which determines the value based on amenities and quality of construction, like I was saying. I believe the appellant would like us to use some math formula that he has based on the incomplete value and then the completed value today. Here's our comp number one. Similar to the subject that it's built on slab, similar in year built. Same with comps 2, 3, and 4, 5. Excuse me. Here we have some outbuilding equity information as well, just to show you what some of these other outbuildings are also being assessed at. There's a lot of different buildings on this property or structures.
Anybody have questions for staff? If not, Don, you want to come up?
Got one question. You said we're assessed at over 500,000. That's not what my slip says. I meant 491.
268, that part's the same, right? 268, 873, so that part's the same.
He just wants
Structures
to
we
know
have
the
the same.
structures.
Oh, it's your ag exemption.
I mean, that's the assumption.
So you're getting
You
an
don't have an ag
exemption.
Make, but yeah.
Well, the ag exemption is applied, but this is the value.
If you know,
Exemptions are applied after the value is determined. So appears to me like that's the $10,000 difference exactly.
Yes, because that.
Are you ready for testimony?
Give her hell.
Or do you guys still need to talk?
No, but I would like to get the numbers straight, because all I've been hearing is about numbers and numbers here, and I get an assessment state different than his, so I'd like to start on the right page.
Go ahead with your testimony
I will.
about your property.
I will. I would like to take my outbuildings first. Last year, we were down here, pleaded the case. The commission dropped the buildings down to $34,996. That was in April last year. They didn't even stay at that price because when I got my new assessment, they put them back up to $50-some thousand. All I want to do is, why did $30-some thousand buildings go up $15,000 in 1 year, less than 1 year? This was approved by the board last year.
Is there any other testimony you wish to present on your property?
Pardon?
Is there any other testimony you wish to present on your property?
No, I think that's pretty.
Were you talking about a house too then,
I would like to talk about the house separate.
separate?
It's one appeal, so you present what you want us to know about your property.
Okay? I'll go with the house. With this is, what I'm asking on the outbuildings to go back to 34,886. On my house last year, it went from 175 to 176 up to 268, I believe it was here. 268, 873. I was going to appeal it. I talked to 4 lawyers, and 2 of them were working on cases for tax assessment appeals. And they said they couldn't help me because they didn't have enough time. Talked to a couple more lawyers, and they told me, Don, you're wasting your time going before the board because basically they've already made up their minds. I wouldn't do it. The other one says, I told her what they were doing the comparables with. They were comparing my house to places in town. And 3 of the lawyers said that would not be a fair comparable in their mind. And I gotta give Scott credit. Thank you for taking the front picture of my house. If you would've turned and looked the other way, you would've seen the cattle yards and the loading chute within 50 feet of my house. So, if the county doesn't have to be fair about this, what's our last resort? I mean, when we can pull comparables that aren't even comparable, what are we supposed to do? I'm here, I'm pleading my case. Like they said, when they inspected the house at 3/4 done, is 128,000 complete, fully done, figured 171 to 175,000 done. Okay, that's good. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt of last year and the year before, 3% increase. We put in a retaining wall worth about $2,500. So that should bring the house up to about $183,780. You guys can think about it. One more comment was, one of my lawyers that I was talking to had made the comment, she said, Don, what's going to happen here? I said, I don't know. She said since COVID, they've been working on some foreclosure notices of campers and RVs and stuff. Well, she said it started March 1st. She says we're writing foreclosure notices for houses and vehicles at the rate of 5 to 8 a day. And there's other people in the law firm that are doing the same thing, and this is for one bank in Sioux Falls. I just listened to the comments, what the departments and buskers. You can't sell them, so we got to drop the price. What's going to happen when we overvalue this? Consumer Price Advocate Group reported that in 2009, 2010, just before the bank foreclosed or the bank collapses, there was 1.73 million auto loans that were in foreclosure notices. As of March 1st, we're at 1.77. What does that have to do with my appeal? I don't know. We're overvalued. Can we stand a hit? No country's ever survived more than 250 years of one form of government. 2 years, we're hitting the 250-year mark, and what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now is going to pretty much say that. Our form of government is not going to survive. So what are we going to do? Just keep raising prices, forcing people out of their houses? Stock market. Go back, 50 to 54 years the cycle is. First, it'll retract at 32%. We're at 45,000 when we went back down to 37, 38 in a matter of a week's time, which was only an 18 or 19%. 32% retractment will take us down to about 31, 32,000. I've told guys this before, and they laugh at me. The next step is a 50% retractment, which would take us down to the 20-some thousand stock market. And the final step is down to 62% retractment. Read your history books, read economics. We're here, but a lot of people don't believe it. So I'm asking, 183,780 on my house, and take my building structures back to 34,996, I believe here. Ag land, yeah, that's gone up, no doubt. I can't really see the difference here. You increased my land value by about $3,500, but you decreased my structure value by about $3,500, so I think that's just to look good. More numbers to try to figure out. Mine's simple. I'm just asking something very simple, people. But when I hear, last week I was down here having guys tell me that they couldn't sell their stuff. Mr. Van Burst got sitting right here and said, yeah, we're having trouble selling this stuff. Maybe we should start planning. Change the way we're doing things.
Does anybody have any questions for the appellant?
Yep, I do.
Go ahead.
Now, do you farm or you work in town and this is an acreage?
No,
Okay, this is your farm.
this is a Hoffman Farm feed yard.
Okay. So the house is on the farm, the buildings are on the farm.
Yes, if a true picture would have shown, I should have brought the aerial.
Oh, that's all right. I just, question.
My feed yard sits about 50 feet behind my house, and my son-in-law's, B.J. Kepin, that was here, the feed yard's about 100 feet behind his yard. This is a family farm.
Oh, he was here the other day with the
Correct.
house that he showed. And then your stuff.
Yes. Between his driveway and my driveway, there's 800 loads of feed that go in and out of that.
All right.
350 to 400 semi-loads and probably 400 loads of manure that go out of those driveways.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
in an effort to recenter here, let me ask this question of the assessor's office. Of the comps you used, did any have a feedlot across the yard from it? I'm gonna assume no.
No.
Okay.
His neighbor also lives fairly close
I
to this
kn-
feedlot too.
I'm very familiar with Don Hoffman's yard. I've been on his place several times.
It's really hard not only to find a home that is sold recently that's built
Yeah.
on slab, but one that's on a cattle, or next to a cattle yard or on ag properties, that's about unheard of,
Yeah, and so, here's where I'm going with that, fair market value. There's not a lot of people in Sioux Falls. There's a lot of people in Sioux Falls looking for an acreage outside of town. There is nobody in Sioux Falls looking for an acreage across from an active feedlot. So here's what I'm thinking.
Technically, I could not separate my house
Okay.
from the feed yard.
So,
Commissioner Aaron's has the floor.
yep, so
Commissioner Aaron's
here's,
has-
so here's what I'm thinking. We have to figure out fair market value. I'm thinking, I would put, here's my motion. Value the land at $180,487. Value the house at $206,049. Value the outbuildings at $40,000. That's just to break the ice. I don't know if I'll get a second or not, but let me
I
know.
second that.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
How does that sound to you?
You go high, I go low. I guess this is a poker game. To me, I said true value. I've worked too damn hard for that farm
Well, and I
to start playing
understand that.
games and stuff on valuations and that.
So where do you want to be?
Well, he's
I
down
said
there.
183,780 on the house.
Madam Chair, will you call the question, please?
Go ahead, Alicia, call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
No. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, then we have Dakota Spirit.
Thank you. I wanted to say
Our
so
next
much.
appeal is parcel
I
number
know.
280.51.03.006. It's located at 3910 West 59th Street in Sioux Falls. It is a gymnasium or rec,
It is a competitive cheerleading gymnasium.
okay. It's a gymnasium, thank you.
That's
It
cool.
is built in 2006. It has 9,824 square feet. Our assessment went out at $1,432,945. This was appealed to the local board of equalization. Local board kept the value at the assessor's value, and that's my current recommendation, to leave the land value at $519,576 and the structure value at $913,369 for a total valuation of $1,432,945. Do show some comps of similar type properties that are located in the Sioux Falls area that are very much like the gymnastics place, or a Sky Zone type property, but a gymnasium recreational facility. Comp 1 and Comp 2 did sell in 2020, and they are currently over the current assessed, the sale price. The assessment is over the sale price back from 2020. Right now, the range is, the subject property is being assessed at $146 per square foot. The cost of the comparable shows a valuation range between $134 and $149, so they're very much equally assessed. The market is indicating, but their 5-year-old sale shows a market range between $119 and $120 per square foot. That I'll stand by for any questions.
Does anybody have questions for staff?
Nope.
Right. Sir, you want to come on up?
Thank
Just
you.
State your name and then go ahead with your testimony.
I'm John Fritsch. I'm the second in command of Dakota Spirit. My wife Robin is the commander. But anyhow, basically our appeal is fairly simple. The comps were sold in 2020, and our 23 valuation was $998, and then it went up to $1,297,000 last year. So that sale, there has been no sale since then. The 2020 sale was dealt with last year, so there's been no activity since then. The biggest thing that affects us is, as far as our sale price, maybe interest rates are a lot higher, making things different, but we were under the impression that the comp sales were dealt with last year, so we would respectfully ask that we stay the same as we are now, which is $1,297,000 and $1,297,000 and $152. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have questions for the appellant? All right, can I get a motion?
I'm going to once again make an motion to accept the assessor recommendation.
Is there a second? If not, motion fails for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
Your request was, sir, what, 1,200,000?
The current valuation is $1,297,152. That was up from $998,016. Since that was raised, there have been no sales in the comps. That raise in '23, from '23 to '24, that's when the raise was, that reflected the sales in the comps. And that's supposedly what we're going on. There have been no sales in the comps since then.
So none of these, what you're saying is that the comparables that we have used, there hasn't been a sale on any of that?
That is correct. The last sale in comparables was 2020. And we raised in 2023. And like I say, since then, that's how we got to 1,297,000.
Oh, that's a hell of a jump from 23 to 24.
Agreed, sir.
What was there as far as did you do anything to the property to make it worth that much more?
Well, there have been infrastructure improvements, 59th Street, past our yard, past
I'm
our.
just talking about your property.
Not really. Well, we put in a sidewalk, which we had to do because of some, no, not at all. To me, it was basically, well, like I said, the comp sold in 2020. It was raised quite a bit high from 998 to 1297 from 23 to 24. But since then, there's been no sales in the comps, and I thought that's what our baseline, that's what we're going on.
Yeah, John and Robin, thanks for coming in. You guys came in last year too, I remember you.
Well, we're sorry. We don't mean to take up your
No,
time.
not at all. You're not bothering us at all. This
But
is,
when you
we
come in,
signed up
what
for
was
this.
the reason that they raised the property taxes?
Well, last year, the proposed raise was from 998 to 1.45.
Yeah, I see that on here.
Yeah, and that.
That's what I was just trying to figure out,
Yeah.
how it,
And the commission was kind enough to base it on the comps, and they raised it to reflect the comps, which we agreed with, because the comps did, but there have been no movement in the comps since then. So, we respectfully think this raise is unwarranted. It doesn't.
Yeah, and here's where I'm going, John, and you probably won't like this. I mean, we made last year what I felt was something to get you in line with the comps. But, most properties have increased in value since last year, just the normal investment value. I mean, if I think about it
I'd have
this
to
way-
disagree with that, based on the interest rate environment.
Yeah, I
We've
get
been
it.
on the upswing, but I think the upswing has maybe plateaued and, hopefully it's not coming down.
I'm okay being challenged on that.
I would disagree based on the interest rates and the overall, when the stock market is going up every year, people feel wealthy. Yeah, I'll buy that, and now it's, we just don't have the same enthusiasm or euphoria or whatever you want to call it.
I get it. You're a going concern, though. You're a business, and I know your business well because I used to take my daughter there, and I appreciate the service
that.
you guys offer. But I do think there's a little appreciation in value.
20%?
Yeah.
Did
And
you
so-
have a motion in mind, Commissioner?
Well, that's what I'm trying to
We
sputter
can
out.
get to the discussion if you want to get to your motion
Yeah.
first.
So my motion is to value the land at $519,576 and to value the structure at $825,000.
All right, so I've got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst the board?
we
If-
can discuss this?
I just asked if there's any discussion amongst the board.
There we
But
go.
that's between us.
Okay. I'm thinking that he's kinda in the ballpark there, that
He
seems
who,
kinda
he
tough.
who,
Joel.
okay,
Seems kinda tough that it went up from about 1 million to 1.4 million, a little over. So he's talking about 1.2 something. What did that add up to, Joe?
it adds up to $1,344,5 $44,576. Any further discussion?
Call the question.
Thank you. Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
No.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
No.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Carla, were you able to come to an agreement or some form of stipulation on,
No stipulation on the valuation for the 25 assessment year.
for Midland? You
Pardon?
weren't able to come to an agreement? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna move all of those to the 29th and they'll be sent every 10 minutes.
Okay.
I don't see any other option right now. We don't have time to do it today.
I owe you.
Is everybody all right with that?
Madam Chair, I won't be here. but-
Okay.
But I already, you and.
Is
or
everybody else gonna
The
be
auditor
here?
knew about that
I'll be here.
already.
I'm here in the morning, I'm not here in the afternoon.
Well, I'm here.
Well, is there anything going on
Is it
the
in the morning?
29th in the afternoon?
Yeah, I have a business to run.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, I do too, but I'm talking about people coming in. We got an agenda for
We'll
the
be here to
29th?
this hearing, I think, and that other guy.
And that other guy, and that's it.
And
Yeah.
then
Yep.
we'll-
So that's it as far as that goes, so that guy should be able to take.
So
that.
let me rephrase, they'll have to be spaced out appropriately for time to get through all of them in the morning.
Because at 10
Because
minutes.
otherwise, we're gonna risk not having a quorum.
Yeah, I'll be here in the afternoon, Madam Chair. Sorry to clarify, I will not be here in the morning. I can be here in the afternoon.
So if it's 5 minutes for each lot, it's 5 minutes for each lot.
We'll be here.
Sounds like a winner.
Motion to recess?
Yep, can I get a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. All opposed?
Same sign.
Thank you, we're in recess.